welcome to the Tuesday, January 24th Farmington Public Schools Board meeting. I called this meeting to order. Mr. Walker, will you please give us a roll call? Thank you.
Mr. Rich?
I'm here.
Ms. Fox?
Here.
Ms. Williams?
Here.
Ms. Heinrich?
Here.
Ms. Smith?
Here.
I myself am here, and Dr. Blau.
I'm here. Thank you. Mr. Rich, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Happy to.
Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Rich. All right. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda? Yes, Rick.
I move that the Board of Education approve the January 24th, 2023 regular meeting agenda as presented.
Support.
Motion by Ms. Heinrich, supported by Mr. Rich. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Okay. Great. Motion passes. For announcements, I want to point out that I'm wearing my Hackbots shirt. I went over to Farmington High School this Saturday after the FAAPN Super Saturday tutoring to see their workshop. OMG. You know, they've come here, a small group of our Hackbots team, and they've presented to us, but you have got to go see their space. First of all, it's huge. It's rooms and halls and laboratories and computer labs and wood shop and these big other machines that drill metal pieces and cut fiberglass. It's incredible. And they have a team now of 70 students who are working together to design and build this robot. And another thing I learned is that they only have 6 weeks to design and build a robot that will perform whatever the set of tasks are that they are required to perform in this year's set of competitions. So they've been working together with new members and developing and honing and advancing their skills, their robotic skills and their CAD/CAM skills. And there's even like this whole business plan and application. So they have a business department and a graphics department. It's incredible. And they're all satellited all over this huge space. They work after school like 15 hours a week during the week, and then on Saturdays from like 9 till 3 or 4, sometimes till late in the night. And so they, whoopsie, sorry. They just received sort of like the assignment for this year, the tasks for this year, like what will be the games and the kinds of tasks that their robot will have to perform. They just received that information just when we came back to school in January, and they only have 6 weeks to go through the entire design process. They're even building prototypes of the kinds of games and tasks that they'll have to perform so that they can test out their different mechanisms with their robot and find out what works best. So it was just incredible to go and see. So if you have an opportunity, they've extended an invitation to come see them on a Saturday. They're there from 9 till about 3 or 4. I encourage you to take advantage of the opportunity. It was really, really amazing. And so they have 6 weeks to build and test and design, and then they have 6 weeks of competition, like every weekend. So anyway, so I'm honored to wear their T-shirt. It's really quite much more expansive and involved than I realized. So thank you, Hatboss, for inviting us to come take a look and for your excellent work. Also, we had here, since our last board meeting, an opportunity to meet with the artists of these fine works of art from our, I believe this is K-8 artwork, if I'm not mistaken. So we had a reception, like a gallery reception for the parents and families and students who did this beautiful artwork that will be able to enjoy in our boardroom here through the end of the school year. The students will get their pieces back, but it was really delightful. I know Ms. Smith was here and Ms. Heinrich was here and Dr. Delgado was also here, talking with the parents and the students, and it was wonderful to hear their stories about their artwork and their creative ideas. So there have also been a number of ongoing committee meetings, both our board committee meetings like policy and legislative and community engagement, as well as the community-wide strategic planning processes like the Teaching and Learning Strategic Planning Committee, the Futures Committee. Really powerful, exciting work is happening at all of these levels, and I just want to thank all of the teachers, support staff, administrators, and parents and community members who are participating in these activities. It's really exciting to have so many of us involved in this innovative rethinking of K-12 public education and what we want to provide for our students here in Farmington. One last thing, I am going to Washington this weekend and into the beginning of next week to advocate for us with our legislators. It is the National School Board Association Advocacy Institute, where it's school board members from all over the country. We've had several online meetings, one of them just before this meeting tonight. And we have a K-12 Alliance here in Southeast Michigan who will be coming with us. We'll be meeting with our senators and representatives to advocate for public education. So I'm going to DC to continue to do good work for our district and to brag about us too. So that's all. All right. We have tonight a report from the Student Roundtable President. Would you like to introduce our speaker?
I'd be happy to invite Mrs. Amy Pan up to the microphone, our wonderful president of the Student Roundtable.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. So, at our last well, and so we have so like also with Farmington, just have the over COVID as our now that we're back to normal every day, but a lot of so right now we're focused. So we started
Awesome. Thank you so much for contributing those perspectives to the work that we're doing. Are there any other questions? Comments? Yes. James.
Yeah, just one. Did you have any other improvement ideas or opportunities?
I know one of the main ones about not in the last IS, but we IS likes our risk. A lot of IS that extra hours set aside just
Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Smith.
I understand how you guys are doing this, and this is awesome, how you guys do the traveling. But Farmington Central is not fortunate to have the band and the orchestra. Have you guys thought of including classes like that to have them go travel back and forth? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amy. And I can just share, Ms. Heinrich is fortunate to be joining us on the student roundtable. So now this is the third board member in my tenure who's been here. And so I think, she has really, it seems, really enjoyed the conversations. Mr. Smith, our director of DEI, who's going to be presenting tonight, also had an opportunity to ask some questions of the students, which gave some really good insight about their experiences with diversity, equity, inclusion work in their schools. But I got a chuckle out of the icebreaker that Amy and her team created was 2 truths and a lie, and it was very difficult for Mrs. Heinrich to lie about anything.
It was very stressful, it was. I'm not good at those things.
But we were glad that she participated, as did our high school principals, and we just really appreciate the insight we get from our student roundtable. So thank you, Amy.
Absolutely. All right, moving on, we have a really special recognition this evening. Dr. Delgado, would you like to introduce our...
I would be honored to. Thank you, Dr. Blau. So the Farmington string students were chosen to participate in the MSBOA Honors Orchestra. So let me tell you a little bit about them. So congratulations to the following 8th graders from Power Middle School. And when I say your name, if you could stand up. From Power Middle School, Connor Ast on cello. Amber, you can clap, that's fine. Amber Hedrick on violin. Keziah Vigi Danielle on violin. And from East Middle School, Riley Marshall on violin. William Yen on violin. And Eleanor Hodges on viola. And their wonderful teachers and conductors, Mrs. Caitlin Mihalko from East. And our wonderful Sandy Vargo from Power. So these students and their teachers were invited to participate in the Michigan School Band and Orchestra Association District 4 and 16 first annual Middle School Honors Orchestra Festival. This is quite an honor, and on Saturday, January 14th, they spent the day in Rochester with honor musicians from both Oakland and Macomb counties. They worked together with guest conductors and clinicians to prepare their festival performance, which took place that evening. We are so proud of these students and their hard work, dedication, and talent, and we know they represented Farmington Public Schools at the highest level. So congratulations to all of you, and we are going to be really entertained. We asked you if you'd be willing to play a number or two for us, so please take your spots, and we'd love to hear. And to our teachers, feel free to step to the podium and say anything you'd like to as well.
Our festival, and what it's called Mystic Forest by Bruce Tippett, and the students chose this piece, not because it was difficult, not. And one thing I do want to. So we invite them at 5:30.
Wow,
Fantastic.
that is awesome. goodness.
It's our pleasure.
That was exquisite. Thank you so much for sharing your talent and the gift of your music with us. It's fun. Yes, Ms. Weems. Ms. Weems.
Yeah, I really am super proud of our music department, all of the arts. I think that's something that Farmington Public Schools does very, very well. And I played a wind instrument, so string wasn't my thing, but I enjoy Day of Strings every year. I enjoy the jazz band. I enjoy attending all of these events. And every time I go from middle school to high school, I say all the time when I come and I talk about going to the musical performances, I would pay to come and see you guys. That's how good you are. It's really phenomenal. And thank you for coming today. I enjoyed it. I always do enjoy the musical performances, but it's really nice to hear from the honor students. I mean, and to hear from a middle school group, you guys are playing really, really well, really well. I did not play that well in my wind instrument in middle school. It took me several years, so congratulations to you.
Yeah, Ms. Smith, sorry.
Again, great job. I've had the opportunity to have two that were in strings when they were in Farmington Public Schools. And I've had the opportunity to hear the beautiful work as of last Friday with East. But to see all of you combined, it's amazing. To see middle schoolers that play just almost as good as high schoolers. So keep up the good work. We are proud of you and congratulations again. I'd like you to really wish you could play the whole meeting. So, but unfortunately we can't have that tonight, but I would love that. But thank you so much for coming out.
Yes, Mr. Rich.
So I did get the chance to go through the strings program here in the Farmington district, and you all are incredible. I'm just thinking on how great it would be if we could have this to start off all of our board meetings. Not only because you played incredibly, but also because it helps us level set and remember why we're here, right? It's so that we can have these kinds of programs and support these kinds of programs in our schools because we see the impact it has on our students, not just for their talent in playing, but also how it interacts and how it enhances the rest of their education.
Thank you. I would love to hear from any of the students who'd like to share what the experience was like, has been like going on the 14th, and is there anything that you would like to share? Would anyone else like to? Go ahead.
To go from 45 minutes a day in class to a full day of like 2-hour rehearsal, 10-minute break, hour and a half section, one another rehearsal, like, did admirably. They thought their fingers were going to fall off.
Very nice.
So we're very proud of them.
Yeah.
Very nice.
But we do have certificates for you as well, and are we going to
Yes,
take a brief
we're
break?
going to take a brief break so that we can come give you your certificates and so the board members can come and meet you and talk with you. I also want to point out, thank you for what you just said and for being willing to have the Chris's matters. Not just your voice on the instrument, but this voice too. And so thank you so much again for the gift of your music and the gift of each of you and all that you bring to our community. So let's have a 5-minute recess, and then we'll reconvene after. I did. We're all back.
There.
We're all back.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to call this meeting back to order. Thank you. All right. Thank you again to our wonderful musicians and their teachers. This was just an absolute delight. Next, we have our items from the secretary, Mr. Walker.
Yes. The board has received communications regarding the board and community dialogues, Farmington High School's extraordinary principal and teachers, school policy, a Young Fives program, and board comment on public comment. Communications are acknowledged, and when appropriate, a response is provided. A list of correspondence can be found in the board packet, which is available on the FPS website.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Next, we have our legislative update from Mr. Rich.
Thank you. So 2 days after our last board meeting, Speaker of the House Joe Tate and Senate Majority Leader Winnie Brinks made the historic move to appoint 4 former educators to chair the House and Senate Education Policy and Budget Committees. So on the policy side, Senator Dana Polhanke has been named the chair of the Senate Education Committee, and Representative Matt Kolazar will chair the House Education Committee. Senator Polhanke is a former high school English teacher and 2-time Teacher of the Year in her district where she taught, and Rep. Kolazar taught secondary social studies and English. And then for the appropriations subcommittees, so that's very important for vital school funding decisions. Senator Darren Camilleri, who used to be in the House, will be chairing the Senate Pre-K through 12 Appropriations Subcommittee, and then Representative Regina Weiss will chair the House K-12 Appropriations Subcommittee. And Senator Camilleri is a former high school social studies teacher, and Representative Weiss is a former high school English and social sciences teacher. So we are very happy to have educators leading policy and budgeting when it comes to these decisions at the state level. There are a bunch of bills that are starting to come out now, and we're going to see action on them shortly. But at this point in time, we are starting to see a lot of changes happening, and it's great to have former educators in the room.
Fantastic. That is such great news. Thank you so much, Mr. Rich. One of the items on the agenda, one of the talking points in Washington, D.C. over the weekend and next week is nutrition. So I don't know if that's come up lately in what you've been addressing, but it is coming up at the federal level.
Yeah, and those are discussions that are being had at the county level along with our state, county, and federal partners. So those are meetings I've been in, both in this role as well as my professional life. Just these are conversations that are happening at the county level, trying to see what we can do for all the schools in Oakland County, as well as how can we do it at the state and federal level as well.
Wonderful. Provide nutrition for all of our students.
Correct.
Thank you so much. All right, moving on to district updates. Dr. Delgado.
Thank you, Dr. Blau. We do have several district updates, starting with my superintendent's update. So I wanted to first say congratulations to our high school students and those middle school students who are taking a high school course. They finished their final exams and the first semester is under our belts. And so we've begun the second semester. So congratulations for all of your hard work. And we get to hit the reset button now. So additionally, you may have heard already that I have already called a snow day, a half snow day for tomorrow. So I, along with the Oakland County Superintendents, meet with meteorologists from across the nation. We had a conference call this afternoon. We're supposed to get a quite a significant storm coming in around noon tomorrow. So in order to try to be proactive, but yet not lose a full instructional day, we wanted to provide adequate notice for families to make arrangement for a half day of regular dismissal tomorrow. And so we've communicated that, I think, at 2 o'clock today. So we know that it's a challenge anytime we have a snow day or early release or a half day, but we wanted to try to give as much advance notice as possible. So for the kids, sorry, it's not a full day, but you're welcome, it's a half day. So. Also, I mentioned this at our last meeting. I want to mention it again. January is Board Member Recognition Month, and I just want to reiterate my appreciation and dedication to all of you. I appreciate all of your really volunteer work and the hours and hours that happen behind the scenes that people don't realize all necessarily of all that you prepare for to serve this community and the 9,000 plus students that we have here, as well as our staff. And so thank you sincerely for your dedication. This is a public job. It's sometimes a thankless job, but you do it with such dignity and grace and commitment to our children and families. So I'm honored to work with all of you. Thank you. And then lastly, from me, I had the opportunity last week to attend the Michigan Association of Superintendents and Administrators Midwinter Conference up in Kalamazoo. It's a wonderful opportunity to network with superintendents and first-line administrators around the entire state. Wonderful general and individual sessions. I was able to specifically get into some sessions about early childhood. And, you know, sometimes you go to these sessions and you're so proud and it just validates what we already have. And so you don't want to brag when you're in the room because other people are still at a different level. But we're just so proud of the Early Childhood Center that, you know, we opened just last year with the ribbon cutting that consolidates all of our early childhood services. So that was a very validating session, and I was texting with Mrs. Sicella to make sure that we were on the same page. I also had a chance to join a session called My Reads, Michigan Reads, which is a portal that I was talking with Mrs. Hendrickson, so I was texting in that to make sure that we understand. It's really essentially a portal that helps us look at, analyze the different aspects that we're doing for evaluation of our literacy programs, which we're already doing, but it's another helpful tool. The third session over the 3 days I attended was one very engaging about adventure therapy. And so it was really about experiential learning and bringing more experiential learning, field trip activities, ropes course type things, but not that you have to go to an actual off-site location. Things and techniques and strategies that you can do in the classroom. I know we have quite a bit of that going on with project-based learning and some of the other activities, but it was just really engaging to talk with other superintendents about how they've implemented this in their schools. And then our last session that I was able to attend, in addition to the general sessions, was through the Troon Law Firm, and much of what Mr. Rich talked about, they talked about the legislative really advantage of having educators who understand education when they're making policy, as well as some of the things that that we can anticipate in terms of legislation coming down the pike. And I know Mr. Rich and Dr. Blau, when you go to Washington, will give us a wonderful update. And two last things about this session. So our very own Dr. Kelly Coffin presented, as she always does, with the Future of Learning Council. She's a member of the Future of Learning Council, highly respected throughout the state, throughout the nation, and she was once again presenting, not only in a small session, but on the last day to the general session to 500 plus people on the Future of Learning Council. So what she's doing here in Farmington with innovation and with future-minded thinking and with our strategic planning is really a model for what a lot of districts are looking to have. And so we're just lucky that we have her here. So I wanted to thank Dr. Coffin for that. And then finally, we had an opportunity to hear from Dr. Rice, our state superintendent, and he reiterated some of the things that he's talked about when he launched last year the Michigan's Top 10 Strategic Education Plan. And I just wanted to briefly read through the goals. There are 8 goals. And as I read through these, I'd like you to think about, if you watch our board meetings, if you attend our board meetings, think about what we're doing in Farmington Public Schools that might align with some of these, as you've heard the presentations. So one of his goals is to expand early childhood learning opportunities. We're talking about that and have one of the most robust early childhood programs around. Improving early literacy achievement. You're actually going to hear about some more of that tonight. Improve the health, safety, and wellness of all our learners. We've talked quite a bit, not only about physical safety, but emotional safety, and focused on social emotional learning, even before COVID, even before some of the challenges with school safety. Fourth goal, expand secondary learning opportunities for all students. We're very, very proud of our post-secondary options, especially our Visions program that has young adults, have wonderful options in their young adulthood, but also looking at these partnerships with community colleges, with universities, with apprenticeships. You know, Amy from our Student Roundtable talked about the Student Roundtable goal. Their goal is to have a career fair by the end of this year to look at career opportunities post-high school. So that aligns with our state superintendent's goal. Number 5, increase the percentage of all students who graduate from high school. Although we have a very high graduation rate, we want it to be 100% on-time graduation, and so we're working hard to make that a reality. Increase the percentage of adults with a post-secondary credential. Mr. Walker and I have talked several times about stackable credentials, looking at CTE type classes and things that we can get students credentials before they get out of high school in many of our classes, not just if you go to the Oakland Technical Campus. And that's something that is in line not only with our state superintendent, but with our local community college presidents and other connections partnerships that we have. 7, increase the number of certified teachers in areas of shortage. Mr. Brad Paddock, our brand new Assistant Superintendent of Talent Development, he and his team are working hard to do recruitment fairs. You may have seen we even had a transportation recruitment fair with our own very eloquent Mr. Hill, who was able, I think it was on Channel 4. He did not apologize for the U of M hat, but that's okay. But throughout the entire organization, we're working hard to not only recruit and retain teachers and tell them why it's great to be a Farmington Public Schools employee, but to look at those areas of shortage right now. And then the 8th goal from our state superintendent is providing adequate and equitable school funding. And we have said several times, when you think about the School Finance Research Collaborative, the nonpartisan independent report that was sponsored a couple of years ago, we're trying to have more and more of our legislators read that to look at other states like Massachusetts and others that have actually invested appropriately in education and have paid dividends. So that's what our state superintendent is working on. We align with those goals. We're very proud of what we're doing in Farmington Public Schools, and we can be simultaneously proud but also committed to have the urgency to improve. And that's what we're trying to do. So I really enjoyed that. I appreciate that you allow me to attend these conferences and bring this valuable information back to our team and to our community. So thank you. It was a little longer than my updates usually.
That's fine, that's fine. Thank you, Dr. Delgado.
Want me to keep rolling?
Yes, you can keep rolling.
Okay. Next up for the district update, we have our wonderful president, I believe, of our Farmington African American Parent Network, Mr. Thomas Hall, who's going to give us a FAAPN update. Looking sharp as always. We could switch the order if we want, if you need to get your flash drive plugged in.
Yeah.
Switch the order? Okay, so let's go to C. I'll invite up Mr. John Barth with our 2020, I believe it's Mr. Barth, with our 2020 bond quarterly dashboard, or is that? Okay, well, come on up. 2020 quarterly dashboard update, and then we'll come back to FAAPN, and we have our DEI here in the hole.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Delgado. Real quick, this is our quarterly dashboard that we do. Scott Smith is going to present to you. To give you a couple updates on current bond projects, upcoming bond projects. I know the board had asked for more detail on what was spent, sort of what was spent, what do we have left, what are we looking forward to, do we have enough money, that kind of stuff. Scott will go into that a little bit without taking up too much time, but we're really looking good right now with the help of the bond team and the finance facilities meetings that we have. So with that, I'll give it to Scott. He'll go through a few slides. And again, any questions you have, but again, it's a quarterly dashboard report for the board.
Thank you.
Thank you, John, and good evening. Okay. Yes, thanks. We'd like to do this every quarter or so as it fits into the agenda. But last time we presented was back in September, so we're overdue for a quick update. The first thing, and I appreciate John, he kind of helped tweak the format a little bit. So hopefully we kind of broke the big piece into some smaller pieces. Hopefully it presents a little bit better. But this is just a pie chart showing how the bond dollars are actually allocated. And this is something we show continuously just to show that sometimes people think of the bond as all construction, and it's really not. A big chunk of it always is, but there's a huge investment in technology. There's what we call FFE, furniture, fixtures, and equipment. So that's furniture, it's kitchen equipment, musical instruments. And then school buses are also a portion of this as well. This is just a pie chart showing that breakdown. Here's some of the financials. This is a little bit more in depth. First thing I want to draw your attention to is the budget. I know what you're thinking, like, hey, we passed a $98 million bond. How did it become 103.1? We are actually tracking 103.1, and that 103.1 consists of the original $98 million that the voters passed, but then $4.6 million from the previous bond that's being allocated towards the renovations at current Farmington community schools in preparation for the new Visions program. And then Ms. Kaminsky has already encountered about $500,000 of earned interest on the bonds to date. So that's about $5.1 million in addition to the 98. That takes you to the 103.1. Our commitments are up significantly since September. We're up about $23 million. And most of that's through all the bid packages that we've awarded this past fall. That was around $37 million last September. Again, the majority being construction work. As far as approvals go, we're up about $8.3 million from last time. And again, a lot of that being construction work. And also we're starting to get into the technology portion. Some of the technology expenses for this bond were a little late getting started, not late, but as planned, as we used up the remaining funds from the old 2015 bond. So our actual cost to complete is now about $30 million, and we're forecasting about $38 million in commitments. Our reserve owner contingency is up from $1.9 million to about $4.6 million. There's probably an explanation of how that really kind of occurred, but the good thing to note is that's a very good number. We're going to use that money to improve the current Visions, which has some plans for program relocation there as well. But that's money that we have. So last time we presented, we had about 1.9. We moved 4.6 million into this bond from the old, and then we also used some budgets for the admin and the current Visions Unlimited program. So that really drastically escalated or ramped up our reserve, and we did that so that we could fund the Visions project that was the first one out of the gate this fall that's currently under construction. So that brought us down to about 3.7 million, and then since that time, we've achieved about $326,000 in bid savings through all of the work that's been awarded this past fall, and then again another $500,000 in earned interest to date, taking us up to about $4.6 million. So we're in, as John mentioned, we're in a very good position relative to where we're at. Again, we're estimating we're going to spend it all. We've got a lot of great things planned for the bond. And then just some pie charts really showing those things. The construction, now we're at approximately 75% of the construction money has been allocated and awarded. Our FF&E is up slightly from 3% now up to 7%. Our buses really remain the same at this time, and technology is up some as well since September. High level, tracking to 103.1. We've got $60 million in commitments. We've received invoices and paid about $30 million, and we've got quite a bit of money still remaining. One thing we wanted to do too is show some pictures. You know, this time of the year, usually there's not a lot of construction going on. A lot of our work is summer orientated, but we got started in November really even late October, over at the current Farmington Community School where we're transferring or renovating that in preparation for the new relocation of the Visions program. I'm just showing you a couple quick photos. These are on the district's websites under the bond updates. But these are some new walls we're building in there. We've completely demoed out the existing facility. You'll see a lot of work there. A lot of the site work that's very visible will become more apparent this year once the weather turns in the spring and as we get into summer. But inside the building, we're doing a lot of work. This picture on the left is an old classroom. We're taking down some of the old walls and reconstructing them, moving walls around. Believe it or not, this is the old kitchen area here on the right. This was all the cabling up above the ceiling that we're redoing as part of the bond. Getting a brand new floor, new equipment. And then our upcoming work, this is all work again that you guys, we presented this past fall, but the updates are very similar. We're really getting ready for the summer, and in some cases the spring, depending on the project. North Farmington will have work this summer with the kitchen and the pool areas. That'll happen in the spring. The rest of the work, we're in a planning and procurement process where we're going through material approvals, getting things on order. A lot of these have long lead items, so we're tracking those closely to see how they coincide with our planned work. We're also still doing some work from last summer as well, where mechanical and electrical equipment has come in, so we're using the winter breaks, the midwinter breaks, the spring breaks. We're using all the breaks we can to try to get that stuff in as those things arrive. Some of it having to wait till this coming summer, particularly at Farmington High School. And then as we speak, we're just about ready to commence kind of the next phase of design, call it phase 4. So we're going to be walking those schools here in the next few weeks and evaluating the buildings, cross-referencing it versus the bond scope, and just confirming some things and getting started with that so we can repeat the cycle for this year. And those projects include Warner Middle School, Farmington Central High School, the early childhood program. Again, as Superintendent Delgado mentioned, lots to be proud of there. We did so much in the last bond. That's a very small project this time around. There really isn't a whole lot left to do. Just some upgraded mechanicals and such in the old part of the building. And then also some planned work over at the current Visions work as well. That's under design. That's pretty much the presentation. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes.
I do. I'm just sitting here thinking while you're presenting, but I want to thank our community for, providing the bonds and supporting the work that we're doing in this district. Just the Visions is such a huge project. Back when the bonds were passed, did we know that we were going to move Visions and actually have all that? And you're able to figure out to have enough resources to do that? Because it seems like the scope of the work we've done at the other buildings, this is way bigger as far as gutting and renovating an entire building. So I think I'm trying to compliment you on being able to figure out how to pay for all of this if it wasn't part of the initial vision when the bonds were proposed.
That's actually very true, and I attribute that to Dr. Delgado, because when I first came in, he came on shortly thereafter, we met and talked about the vision for the district with regard to the bond. And part of that was knowing that the Visions program needed to be expanded. We knew the building couldn't really be built out. So we looked at a building that was sort of left vacant, and had we left that vacant, it would have been torn down eventually. For that part of the community, we thought that was a disservice. Quite honestly, when that building is gorgeous, I mean, it's got the bones, it could be renovated, we knew that. So with Dr. Delgado's foresight, some work with the bond team, some shifting dollars around, knowing we had to do the bond work promised, we actually made this happen, but it was a lot of work with the bond team. And when it's done, it's going to be like the Taj Mahal. It's going to be gorgeous. So we're looking forward to seeing it come back up to the way it should be. And then when it gets closer, when construction gets closer, the board will be invited to do a walkthrough. Right now, it's all torn apart. But for me, it looks great inside. So I know what's going to happen down the road, how it's going to look with all the new tiles, all the new furnishings. It's going to be perfect for Doreen and her program. So we're really looking forward to Visions coming back to life at FCS.
Thank you to both of you.
that building was near and dear to my heart because of my experience working there. I know you're making it friendly for wheelchairs and everything. What are you going to do with the gym? That's a huge gym over there. Are you making it, user-friendly for those that are in the wheelchairs or?
We are. And Doreen's been part of this the whole time. So
Okay.
the gym is actually getting renovated as well. So the blue walls on either end are being painted white. There's getting new lighting. It's getting a new floor. It's actually getting glass backboards. So we built that all into the budget because she really needed that for her clients. And then I really think when you see this building, it won't be recognizable. From the outside, it will. But when you go inside that building, downstairs where the high school area was, it was all chopped up. It's all open now, but they're building walls. You'll see a whole new building, quite honestly. So we're doing what we can, and we're sort of recognizing things that have to be done to that building as it comes along. One of the things, and you know about this, we had a chiller that was vandalized, right? We're getting that replaced. We were going to with the bond anyway because it was old. However, what we also recognized is we needed more ADA ramps in the back to the gym, to other areas. We also were going to put LED directional lights all around the building because it's sort of out in the middle of not nearby houses, except behind. We're taking out the parking lot in the back. I don't know if you know about it. When you go on Tuck, there's a big parking lot. We're taking that out, making it green space because it's not needed. So you're going to see a whole new building, basically a whole new site plan. We've already got the digital sign there. We're trying to get hooked up so we can sort of let the community know what's happening inside as it goes forward. Electricians are working on that. So every week you're going to see changes. You're going to get pictures. You're going to get updates, but it's going to look great as we go forward. And I can't wait to see it done, quite honestly.
Any other questions? Thank you for this thorough and very positive report. We're looking
Thank you.
forward to seeing all the finished products. Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, I see that Mr. Hall is ready to come up and give us our FAAPN update.
All right, we got our technical difficulties straightened out. And want to go ahead and presentation. Okay. So, good evening, everyone. Hello. Thank you for the opportunity for expressing what we're doing with the FAAPN, and our beginning presentation, what's happening with FAAPN. This is the update that we're doing. And for that, start with our mission statement. Our mission to educate, empower, and energize our community to navigate the educational and system, gain access to opportunities, and influence the decisions that impact the success of our students. Here are a couple of highlights that we have for our for 2022. We launched the first ice cream social with the community partners, supported us like LOC Credit Union, Dream Kings, and the Farmington Youth Association and Farmington YMCA. We had many board members come out and to support us. It was a great event, and we had a lot of fun there to introduce FAAPN to the community. The highlights that we're going to have for like the month of January that's coming up. We're going to have the strategic meeting, seeking funds, applying for grants, get data-driven goals for our FAAPN tutoring, which is our tutoring program is a very, very highly successful program, which we couldn't have done it without everybody's help, the community. We have some great tutors, student tutors. I know Mrs. Hyrick pointed out to me and said, make sure that you say that the students are some great tutors that helped us out in some of the high level math. So I said I am definitely going to express our things, and also through the hat bots, which has been pretty much our backbone for our students, volunteers that came out that help out with us. We also going to have for 2022, we're launched at for the tutoring is at the new location. Many people don't know, but it's at the Farmington High School, right down the street from here. And I have to kind of like admit, I'm starting to think about, I think we're probably in a better environment just because it's a larger space, and we have like the little cafe area, which that, we can have like the snacks and everything we can hang out at. We also have a adjoining room that has a blackboard, a whiteboard, I should say, that we can actually put our problems on there and, kind of structure it a little bit, it got more space and it's just more conducive to what we're trying to do. So actually, closing having renovating Maxfield was like actually a blessing in disguise and everything. So we really appreciate that and the support that the Farmington has made it possible for us to move in that location at a very, very timely time. Now, here are our goals for this year that we're planning to have. So we're going to launch. We're going to have increased, parent engagement series in which that we're going to grow Fapping board. Okay, we're going to get more. We're looking for more volunteers to help us to do things that we want to do because it's where we need that help in order to accomplish some of our goals that we want to do. Seek grants to grow our Fapping financial infrastructure so we'll be able to do these certain things. Certain programs that we're going to have, such as like in the month of February, we'll celebrate Black excellence by putting on like a Black History program. We're still putting that together. In March 11th, we're having a financial workshop at Farmington High School in which that we're going to have high school kids and middle school kids and high school kids come in, and they're going to go through, like, they're going to get like a stipend and say, okay, here, this is how you manage your funds, because once you, get on your own, this is real life. So you can't just, spend all your money on some designer clothes or a high-end video game system because you need to have rent, food, and shelter and everything. So it kind of helps them budget and manage their finances. So we're going to do that on March 11th. So we're still putting all the flyers and everything with that. So stay tuned for that. The month of April is going to be academic. We're going to try to have an academic sports speaker discussing how to be the best student athlete. Okay, so we're going to have, maybe a retired professional sports player come in and talk to the kids and say, hey, this is what you got to do from high school, college, and so forth. And we also working with the Department of the Family Youth Assistance, and also with Shannon Daniels to help us out, getting us some enrichments that she's reaching out to get certain things in which that, along with our Super Saturdays, that we're going to have like a book club there, for like a, just for literacy, teach the kids literacy and certain skills that they actually need with the STEM involved. So we're going to have different presentations with STEM and how they can actually be able to implement these things for the students. So we're looking forward to that. And with that, we have no tutoring this Saturday, although we have every Saturday, but no tutoring this Saturday just because the building's going under some regional conference that's there that's going to commandeer the whole building. So really, we don't have any place. And I didn't want to move it over to another location because since we moved once, I don't want to confuse so many people. So with that, did I? Okay. Okay, great. Okay. Now these are people that helped me out put this presentation together. They're, so I'm really thankful for them. Any kind of questions or anything like that?
Questions? I would like to share that I already started a book club on Saturdays.
Okay.
with two young ladies, and there were two other students who saw us reading and were asking about that, so I'm bringing books for them when we resume in 2 weeks. So now we've got four students in our little book club.
Oh, so that's what you're doing in that corner over there.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Yes.
All right.
So I'm happy to continue doing that with any students who would like to do it, and at different grade levels. I'm happy to run book clubs.
Oh.
I do that where I teach, at the building where I teach all the time. So happy to do that.
Great, great. And, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I just want to recognize you and thank you. You can't hear thank you enough just for the outstanding work you're doing. I mean, it's just, and it's a great support of all the parents too. I mean, I go in there and it's like, how can I help? And you've got students that are great. I mean, I just love seeing the students that are helping and the kids that come in and the parents come in with their children and they're like, what can I do at home? And they want to talk to the people that are helping their children. And it's just a really nice team, a support team for our community. So it's just, and you're all volunteers that are doing this. So thank you for the work you're doing.
Ms. Fox.
So I would like to also commend you and the entire executive group for FAAPN. You all are doing an amazing job. There's a lot of work that is being done. There's Zoom meetings and phone calls and things of that nature. There's items that they would like to be able to do more of as we move forward. And the students are just wonderful, and the parents are so grateful that their children are being tutored on Saturdays. And so it's just been a very wonderful opportunity, not only for the kids and the families and what have you, but I think those of us who on Saturdays who really come in each and every Saturday morning, it's just been a phenomenal experience. And I just like to congratulate you guys.
Thank you, Ms. Weed.
Yeah, I don't want to belabor the point, but I also want to say thank you. I agree with everything that's been said. This year's been tough for me, but for years, came to every Saturday and noticed all of you volunteering your time every single Saturday. Every single Saturday. We talked about Board Appreciation Month earlier today. Thank you, Dr. Delgado. But really, I mean, it's people like you and within your organization that are showing up and every Saturday, every single Saturday for these kids. And I can't say thank you enough for everything that you're doing there and even more broadly. So thanks again.
For those of you who are with us and those of you who are watching, you are welcome to join us on Saturdays. Well, not this coming Saturday, because we won't be there, but the following Saturday, that would be the 4th of February?
Yes.
February 4th, and any Saturday after from 9 to 11 at the Farmington High School Media Center. We welcome you. Even if you can only come for half an hour, come join us. There are kids of all different ages. You can tutor them in adding, subtracting, sit and read with them, whatever is your comfort level. But we welcome you. You can come just once in a blue moon. You can come every Saturday. It's entirely up to you. You don't even have to sign up ahead of time. Just come show up, and the students will be thrilled to work with you, and we'll be happy to see you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you again for all the outstanding work that you're doing
You're
on
welcome.
behalf of our students.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
All right, thank you.
And next up, as we continue with district updates, I'm happy to welcome our Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Mr. Greg Smith, and I believe he's brought some friends with him to help with his presentation.
For sure. All right. To the Board of Education, Dr. Delgado, thank you for the opportunity to come and share a few updates around the area of diversity, equity, and inclusion. I brought some friends, so you'll hear from a few adults, some of our partners within the community, and a very special guest, was a 9th grade student at Farmington High School, who will be telling you all about our Farmington IDEA Diversity Club, okay? So, as Dr. Delgado just stated, I'm Greg Smith, the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion here for Farmington Public Schools. And it is my, again, distinct pleasure to kind of share with you a few things here that we're doing in the district with DEI. So it honestly would be impossible for me to cover everything. And so what you have on the screen now are some phases of the work in itself. I have drawn up a more comprehensive document for you guys to see that kind of explains each phase. Tonight, I'm just going to touch base on phase one in the 15 minutes or so that I have. All right? So one of the things that you saw in phase one is in a part of the work that we're doing here throughout the district is cultivating relationships. In the role for just over 4 months here, building those relationships out is a key indicator of the success and the depth of our work around diversity, equity, and inclusion. In doing that, I've decided to carry out listening tours. These are tours for students. There'll be staff listening tours. There'll be community engagement and community dialogue in which we'll have, and you see the months in which we want to do that. And then I actually will hopefully be holding a meeting and talking with our Board of Education around those areas of diversity, equity, inclusion. Amy was here earlier, and she shared one of the questions in which, or a few of the questions that I asked, and it's only 3 questions. In your experience, in your lived experience here in Farmington as a student, or as a teacher, or as a stakeholder, or board member, what's going well? What are some of the things that we need to focus in and kind of drill down on? And then relative to diversity, equity, and inclusion, what is it that you want to see? What is it that you want to experience and feel in your time here within Farmington Public Schools? Now, I've had not the opportunity to reach out to all buildings. I'm very close to reaching out to all of our secondary buildings. But from October to December, what I did is kind of collected some of the outcomes from our meetings. And so what you'll see here, this isn't a Mac, so I want to blow this up. So I'll just talk through a few of these pieces here. If you see it bolded, that simply means that it showed up in many different meetings and kids saying the same thing. Some of the things that are going well, right? Great relationships with teachers. Many students felt like it was a safe environment. They felt like Farmington Public Schools was a strong community and very inclusive and friendly. Some of the challenges that the kids kind of shared with me, and this is 6th through 12th, was bullying. Bullying was an issue, and that was one that kind of rose to the top. Conflict resolution. They wanted tools to kind of navigate when they were in these situations and how do I manage and handle myself throughout these pieces. There's threats and then classroom management. Relative to those things in diversity, equity, inclusion, they wanted to pay more attention to marginalized students. They wanted, again, you'll see this word, tools, to help navigate bias and discrimination. Course content came up quite a bit. They wanted to expand our course selection to support more of the identity and the representation that was within our schools and that fills our schools. One of the pieces that they talked about a lot, and this was, it didn't matter if it was from middle school to high school, was the lack of diversity and representation in our teaching staff specifically, but then also our overall staff. And so I have these data points because a lot of the work in which we're doing is going to kind of hone down on that. Those are data points that we absolutely need in driving out this roadmap, and you see that kind of theme all throughout. So again, staff, there will be a listening tour and a survey that kind of comes out in February. Community dialogues will be held in the month of March, and then hopefully an opportunity to meet with the Board of Education also in the month of March. And I'm sorry for just kind of running through these, but I want to honor everyone's time here. Building bridges. These are the partnerships. Now, you see 6 bullets here, 5 of them active. The truth is that there's probably 25 to 28 partnerships that we have in this district that's connected to Farmington Public Schools and DEI. And speaking with Dr. Delgado on some of our bi-weekly meetings, one of the things that's important to me is to make sure that every single person that partners or organization with Farmington Public Schools is truly a partner of the student. So the work in which we're talking about must impact the child. And if it doesn't, That doesn't mean it doesn't remain here. We don't honor that partnership, but we have to prioritize the work, right? And so I've been spending a great deal of time in some of that. And if I can have, I know we just heard from, oh, he's coming back up. All right, here we go. And then I have also our wonderful librarians who can come to the mic. And so what they're going to do is just share some of the relations that they have with Farmington Public Schools and diversity, equity, inclusion here within FPS.
Well, yeah, Greg Smith is doing an excellent job for him communicating with a lot of initiatives that he wants to do with FAAPN. We speak. I don't know. It seems like we text back and forth very, very often of things that's going around in the district. What his concerns was our concerns are, and he has an action plan. We discussed action plans on how to resolve these issues. And it was a very thoughtful process that he actually go through. So I can ask for more of a direct contact to the impact of our students and the overall Farmington School with Greg Smith. He's very in touch with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And we heard so much about FAAPN, and with all of these great things we heard, one of my efforts, and I believe I'm not alone in this, but our collective effort is to have such a firm, sound group that's doing so much good, a self-sustainable, firm, and sound group within our district. And so those are some of the efforts and the conversations in which we're having. I don't know if you guys had an opportunity to head out to the library for our MLK, but that was outside of being a resident and an employee of Farmington Public Schools in years past, but to take part and to have the opportunity to plan with these two jewels behind me were just, and they are on it. I mean, they are. I'm answering the phone, I'm answering text or else. But it was a wonderful, wonderful host of events for our community. And I'd like them to just come up and share a little bit.
Hi, I'm Crystal Sexton. I'm the head of Children's Services at our 12-mile location in Farmington Hills and our DEI coordinator at Farmington Community Library. And like Mr. Smith was saying, our MLK Day celebration a week ago was probably the most successful one we've ever had, and I attribute a lot of that success to the Farmington Public Schools partnership. And Mr. Smith was basically by our side the whole day, supporting us and making sure his students were supported. And we also saw a lot of other staff, and Dr. Delgado was there, and Zach was there. Thank you for coming, and I know Ms. Smith was there too, and Dr. Val, you were there. So thank you for showing up and being in the community where our families are and helping us celebrate that day. One of the highlights of the day was the student panel presentation led by and moderated by Dr. Smith or Mr. Smith at It's coming. Yeah, I know. That's why I said that. I am manifesting it for you. And the students spoke so powerfully and gave us a lot of paths that we need to think about going forward. And then our first inaugural MLK Student Community Challenge, where they created artwork, the middle schoolers and the high school students created artwork about what they want to see their community look like, and we're excited to repeat that next year. So that was the first kind of big thing that we have worked on with Mr. Smith, and now I'll let Maria talk about what we're going to do going forward.
Thank you for having us here tonight. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Thank you all for coming to the MLK Day. And so, we're meeting to talk about things in the future and, the idea panel and the students. If any of you didn't catch it, it was kind of amazing. I think one of the students is going to be the president one of these days, I'm convinced. But we want to move forward with those kinds of things because I think that the impact the students had with the community that day is really powerful. And moving forward, I think that people maybe are more open to listening and hearing when their students talking about their experience, and I think this is how we can move forward. And I will say that MLK Day, it was very student-driven, I thought, that day, and from Farmington Public Schools. And let me just say, you guys are doing a great job. I was amazed, the dance troupe. And of course, you know, can I just say that not only are they dancers, but they're like, I choreographed this piece. And I'd be like, well, of course you did. Of course, I shouldn't expect anything else. So your students are doing an amazing job, and we're really looking forward to continuing this momentum that we have from that day. Thank you.
Wait, don't go away. Don't go away. I regret that I didn't mention all the wonderful MLK Day activities in my president's announcements at the beginning. The diversity of experiences that you provided for our community and the significant involvement of student voice and student talent was remarkable and exciting. And it didn't happen by accident. So thank you so much for all the time and effort you put into organizing all of those varied events. It was a really such an exciting experience because we had the march, we had the student panel, we had the dance, we had the art from all ages. It was just magnificent. I still have my sign in my car, in my passenger seat.
For next year.
Yes, it was really brilliant. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Is there more? Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Can we applaud?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so you see many other pieces on here. The Minority Student Achievement Network, MSAN. We've been a part of that for years, and so I'm working with Dr. Connie. In fact, we have a meeting this week to kind of reestablish some of those pieces. They are heavy in the professional the development of our young students and having virtual chats and meetings with senators and congresswomen and congressmen around the country and really providing that level of exposure. But there's a number of pieces that they have that could be supportive to our work here in the district. The University of Michigan Youth Dialogue with Dr. Checkaway up at U of M, he and I, and that has been here in Farmington some time. In fact, he sent me today an article that was written years ago around the initiation, or excuse me, this initiative when it started within the district. So I was excited to see that and have that to also be reestablished. Equal opportunity schools, you see that. That is looking at representation in our advanced placement and in our IB courses. Again, I have another opportunity to come to you guys towards the end of the year. You will see numbers, you will see data, you will see things that have just been formulated for the sake of giving you guys the picture that we need and some of the avenues that we need to pursue to support our students, all students at a deeper level. You've heard from the Farmington Community Library. There's so much. I shared in a conversation with Dr. Delgado some time ago, and I think it was maybe after an FAAPN meeting or MCMR meeting, that everyone says that Farmington is diverse, right? And you can go to Fresh Time or wherever, and you can see that for yourself, but you don't necessarily know the engine in which that's making that work. And to have an opportunity to see the organizations that are serving and giving and asking for nothing is absolutely wonderful. And we want to maintain some of those partnerships. Our exposure to the Muslim community and the work in which they're doing is just absolutely fantastic. So again, building bridges is definitely a part of the work in which we will continue to do, and we will seek out throughout this year. I'm going to call a special guest, Ms. Shivani, to the podium. Our Farmington IDEA is a group in which, a diversity group that has been here for some time. They have many responsibilities, but they are a remarkable group of students who carry a heavy load and again, have a serious charge, but do it so well. These are our leaders in many of our buildings, whether they belong to any clubs or athletic, teams or whatever the case, they walk around and they are powerful and they are mighty. So I have Shivani here to just kind of tell you a little bit about Farmington Idea.
Hi everyone, my name is Shivani Salvi and I'm a 9th grader at Farmington High School. So a little bit about my experience with diversity at Farmington Public Schools. I was exposed to that concept of diversity in 5th grade when I joined the Culture Club. Then I continued this throughout 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade in middle school. And I joined the District Diversity Club in 7th grade, and I've continued to do so in 8th grade, and now in 9th grade. When I entered 9th grade, we had a change in who was leading our diversity club, and it was now run by Mr. Smith. And it was really nice to see that we were able to meet in person once a month, and we were able to really connect and bring ideas to the table. And IDEA, which stands for Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Acceptance. And we really hope to promote these qualities all throughout Farmington Public Schools and to help students embrace their selves. And I feel like that we are really striving to do this. At our meetings, we plan to run our diversity conference. We have a conference once a year, and that happens in May. And we are in preparation for that. We had a meeting today, actually, where we discussed plans and helped prepare. And for me, it's so nice to be in a room with other students that are just as motivated as I am about diversity and be able to take charge with them and kind of create this conference where students have the opportunity to learn more about diversity, embrace themselves, and share that with their schools as well. So I'm really grateful for this experience, and I'm really excited for our conference that's going to take place in May. And I think overall, so far, we're doing a great job at helping students embrace diversity in Farmington Public Schools.
So you see the date, again, thank you, Shivani. You see the date here. Please mark it in your calendars, Monday, May 15th. That and 16th is because we're thinking outside of the box, and we want that time to be as impactful and effective as possible. So we may have a high school version and a middle school, or we may combine the two, and that's why you see that. The date. As Shivani said, they did a wonderful job today. They had to make some tough decisions. They had to drill down on things that maybe they didn't agree with, but they heard from their peers and were able to make some decisions to move the work forward. So we're walking forward with a theme. We're walking forward with breakout sessions, and they're going to pull in. They have a plan to pull in the voices and center the voices of their peers as they invite them into this conference. I will also say that the doors of invitation has been opened up to my Jedi Council with Oakland Schools. So we will have representatives from Rochester Community Schools, Birmingham, West Bloomfield, and so on who will be joining us on that day. And we will hope that you guys can clear your calendars to join us as well. All right, so the piece around relevant professional development. Some of this has started in the district. Around implicit bias, and we've offered some training in a more collective fashion. But this is a part of the engine that's going to help us grow. And I have the word relevant there because it's not what's important to me, it's not what's important to this group, but it's what's important to all of us, and it's going to move all of us forward. Often data, perception data, whatever data you're looking at will help you with that. But then also those relationships that we have and that we're building out will also help us with, again, that professional development in which we need. You see here the ADL. And I'll explain the connection as to exactly what I was just saying. In the student data, one of the things that's coming out is please, will you equip us with the skills that we need to navigate this life? right, as a middle schooler or as a high schooler. Equip us with the skills we need of advocacy maybe when we are facing a bully and so on and so forth. And so we are partnering, and we hope to partner with ADL, which is Anti-Defamation League. Mrs. Carla Chenault is leading that charge and that partnership with Farmington Public Schools. And we're going to begin to fold that out. And it's and you may have heard this before, but the No Place for Hate. Right? So we're going to begin some of those efforts within our district for our K-5, or for a K-5, or excuse me, a K-12 approach to equipping our students with the skills and the strategies that they need. This is not only an equipping of our students, but also our staff, our administrators, and our central office and cabinet. All right. There are many other pieces relative to some of the training and professional development. In my talks with many of our and you'll hear about this in just a few, with administrators around the audit and action plans within their buildings, I'm asking the question, and what training do you see fit for your staff, to also gather their voices as well. All right, this is a key piece here. Over the last couple of years, the district has been working towards this strategic plan relative to equity and innovation. And so a part of my work will be to kind of guide some of that work and make sure that we are in alignment with that strategic plan. That's important because one of the things the district and many of our buildings were cited for was it was on paper a lot around diversity, equity, and inclusion, but we didn't take actionable steps towards diversity, equity, and inclusion. In other words, we talked about it, but we didn't necessarily live it out. And so a part of my work and my charge that Dr. Delgado has given me, especially with many of our, again, administrators, is to build out action plans in our building. This is, in a sense, our action plan for the district and how we're going to approach some of those pieces relative to equity and innovation. All right. Been kind of leading to this piece around a comprehensive needs assessment. We've got to know where we are to determine where we want to go. We all may have these individual thoughts of where we want to go, but we need to make sure that we are drilling down and collecting the data that we absolutely need. The district is well on its way of doing this and have been for years. I'm speaking again of the school and the district's equity audit. Moving from words to action. I've talked to you a little bit about the administrative action plan meetings that we're having, and we will continue to have. And this is not necessarily Greg Smith, the director of DEI, telling principals what they need to do, but hearing and asking questions of inquiry-based questions of how I can support and how this district can come along and support in making that transition. I've talked a little bit about the listening tours. There's a piece that you'll hear a little later on today, but that's been happening as well under Dr. Coughlin relative to the curriculum and assessment review. If I had a perfect slide for you tonight, it would be talking about where DEI lives. It lives in curriculum and assessment and instruction. It lives in the hearts and the social emotional advantages and disadvantages that we have. That's where true DEI lives. We want to get to that point, but these are some of the steps in which we have to take. We'll be pulling data from community dialogues, also student growth achievement, and then also I'm going to direct this last piece to the voices of our students. They want to see themselves not only in our curriculum, but they want to see themselves in the classroom and in the school, right? We call it that yearbook model in a sense. And so working with our human resource or our talent development to address some of the hiring practices and to fulfill some of the things that we can do to diversify our staff, more specifically our teaching staff that are in our buildings. All right, and this last piece here is the Jedi Council. I made reference to them a bit ago, and this is just a group of DEI directors and coordinators throughout our county in which we meet once a month, but we talk every day, all day, around the work in which we need to do. This is a wonderful group of highly intelligent educators who absolutely love their communities and love the work and advancing their communities in their school districts. Lastly, DEI in action. I could have had a few more of these things, but what you will see me doing now in my work is cultivating relationships. We talked about that. Monthly administrator meetings, planning annual diversity conference, working with the Attract, Recruit, keep model that is being built out. I don't know if you guys have been seeing the monthly DEI newsletters. I've been getting a lot of feedback around those, facilitating professional development, data collection, building community partnerships, and streamlining the work. I have here restorative practice, but it's also many of the groups and clubs that fall under diversity, our religious journeys and so on and so forth. What does that look like from building to building, but then what does that look like for our district? And so that's just a few of the things in which I've been working on and will continue to work through over the next 4 months, or I have over the last 4 months, and will continue through the rest of the year. Thank you.
I want to say, you took this job and you hit the ground and you have not stopped. I've been impressed with the work that you have done coming from an elementary environment, an elementary school. This past weekend, I feel that you are being a little humble. Friday, for many of you that know, East Middle School held their annual, first time in person since COVID, their MLK event. And Mr. Smith was there. And then the next 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, which Saturday we had at the library, the Tuskegee Airmen. And then on Sunday, Mr. Smith was there the whole day. I want to say first, I think I saw Mrs. Smith in the audience. I want to tell Mrs. Smith, Dawn, could you please stand? Thank you for not only allowing this district to have your husband the whole weekend, but we had you and all of the family there the whole weekend. This lets you know this is a man that is not only dedicated to this community, but his family is dedicated to be here as well. He has students, his own children attend these schools. So I thank you and I applaud you for all of the hard work you have done. I thank you for reaching out and working with our mayor's youth group and doing the things that you're doing in this community and continuing with the diversity. So the Monday, May 15th, will that be at the Hawk again?
Yes, right now we we'll be at the Hawk.
Thank you. And again, thank you, Mrs. Smith and little Smiths.
They should be at home.
Thank you so much. Any other?
Thank you. I'll just add to what people have said. It's just been an honor to work with Mr. Smith and to see his dedication as well as his history with the district and commitment to it. So I look forward to working for many, many years with Mr. Smith on this very important work. So thank you.
This is still very exciting. Thank you for hitting the ground running, and you've been a little busy.
A little bit.
A little bit. Thank you so much.
I also want a shameless plug real quick. You guys got another group coming up, and I'm going to just say that a lot of those people are Lanigan Eagles. Right. Shout out to Lanigan. Yeah, just
We appreciate your passion and your commitment, Mr. Smith.
And on that note, we'll go to our final district update of the evening. We have the interactive flat panel update. Looks like Mrs. Hendrickson is stepping to the microphone first, and she's brought some friends.
Oh, wow.
So, good evening, Dr. Delgado and Board of Education. I am pleased to have two presentations tonight showing the work of collaboration in the district as well as teacher leadership. So I'm going to first introduce Whitney Tyner, who is our Instructional Technology Coordinator. We have Patrick Gregory, who is our Senior Technology Coordinator for our partnership with schools. We have Amy Oliver, who is our Instructional Coach. Amy Garbusek could be here today, but they have been working in a really strong collaboration. You know, as part of our bond, we had interactive flat panel installations 5, and so we thought we'd give the board an update on kind of the implementation and installation alongside the work that teachers are doing today. We also have a wonderful group of teachers behind us, but I'm going to allow our teacher leaders to introduce them because they're the ones working with them so closely. I will step aside and let you guys speak.
Thank you, Margaret. Good evening. It's an honor to share some of our work with you all this evening. Behind me, we have two fabulous educators. We have Dawn Dickerson, who is a 5th grade teacher at Lanigan Elementary. We also have Tiffany Vitor, who's a kindergarten teacher at Forest Elementary, and both of these fine teachers are building tech leads, and our building tech leads support teachers within their building regarding instruction and anything to do with technology. Soon, they're going to give a quick demonstration about how they've used their new flat panels interactively with their students, but I'd like to take just a second to describe how all of this has come to fruition. So I'll have Patrick, if you don't mind, joining me up here. But we've spent the last year and a half and even longer collaborating with both IT and instructional technology. Both teams walked every classroom together throughout the district to ensure that installation of the panels was, it was made through an instructional lens.
Yeah, and so it was about time we got these two groups together. Much gratitude and appreciation to Kelly Coffin, to Margaret Hendrickson, and other leadership in the district in getting this group together and having instructional technology support and all the people you see on this slide here, along with our team here in Farmington. There's 9 of us that are here in Farmington from Open Schools, day in and day out. And it was time to get everybody together, so we actually literally moved them into the IT office this year, do the construction and MEC here, and have now a lot more collaboration between your teachers and also your IT staff. We've been working for almost 2 years very closely together, and some of us even longer than that, but now to have both of us together working side by side even more is great. And to Whitney's point, we work with them. We have questions for them about certain situations, and they have questions for us about certain situations. And I've never seen such a great partnership, and I think really good, productive outcomes coming out of that than ever before.
For example, both of our teams have weekly meetings together where IT might share a product update with us or discuss some back-end settings that need to take place on the panel. And before those take place, the conversation, of course, is geared toward how is this going to affect instruction. Some of the other ways that we've collaborated is through teacher focus groups. This way we've ensured teachers' voices are heard, and that way they can give us information on the type of what's the best instruction available for their students utilizing something like this. And so what we do then at that point is go back to the drawing board with IT and then try to make it happen.
Yeah, you can imagine there's a lot of back and forth these days with all that's going on around education and technology, the abundance of purchases of technology over the last few years with COVID and some of the remote learning. It's been a constant work back and forth to find the right balance in and out of the classroom and here in Farmington, especially with the bond work that's been going on in the bond purchases. There's a lot of new technology in Farmington, and that requires a lot of support both on the infrastructure side, but more importantly for our teachers and to help them understand how to use it. And sometimes that takes a little time, but you're going to see that progress more and more over the next few years as we continue on that journey.
So with any new technology purchase, we know training is really important to all members. So we developed a layered approach. And so we start with the 101, which is the basic panel setup, making sure my panel is ready for day one in the classroom. Start introducing some of the interactive whiteboard features, but keeping it at that like comfort level. And then we have the 201, which is more about creating some interactivity right on the spot for the teachers to get their students interacting with the panel as well as some options for casting up to the panel from students and teachers. The 301 is using the smart software Lumio, and that is an online software that allows for interactivity between the teacher and the students, allows for some responses and collaboration. And then the fourth one, we hope to get there is to have a design lab where teachers can collaborate, get together, and share how they're using the panel in their classroom with other teachers to help grow that community and knowledge.
So we have, as Amy said, it's a tiered system, a support system with a layered approach, meaning we started off at the elementary level, first training our administrators and then our media aides. And it was fantastic because after we trained our admin in each of the elementary buildings, they utilized their panels at staff meetings. And they were able to start modeling some of the interactive pieces with their staff. We went on to train the instructional coaches and then went to our building tech leads. We offered a flex PD at the end of August before teachers came back to their buildings. And we also created our Panel 101 training videos that I'll let Amy go ahead and talk about here in just a second. But we also introduced Panel 201 and some even 301 training to elementary teachers during our November PD Day.
So our Panel 101 training, the way we designed it was a series of 12 videos that we felt it was important for the staff, them to be specifically tailored for Farmington teachers. So the settings are all exactly what the teachers see, the features, and we wanted to do this so that teachers can go back and reference these videos at any point in time. They're very short videos, all about a specific topic or feature. So staff can go in, they went through them at the beginning of the year during the first week back, but then they have the ability on our instructional tech website that is in their FPS bookmarks to reference these at any point in time, as well as for new staff coming in. It's something that we can use over and over again. You start in the middle of the year, you're not sure exactly what this panel is in your room. They have access to these short videos to help kind of get them started before they can reach out to a tech lead or us for support. The plan is to also do these, and we're actually in the middle of making these for the 201 and then the 301 level. So all of these will be accessible.
It was really important to us with these videos to make sure that teachers were able to set up their panels walking through the videos, and we also provided a checklist for teachers to utilize as they were setting up their panels before day one with students. It was a much more interactive way for them to start engaging with their panels, to learn how to navigate it, and we plan on doing the same, continuing forward.
And during this time that they had to go through these videos at the beginning, a member of our team, as well as their building tech lead, was in the building to help support and answer questions as well. So they weren't left just to watch these videos, but we would pop in, check in, go through some things in more detail if the teacher wanted.
Okay, I would love to introduce Dawn Dickerson.
Hello, everyone. It's good to see you. I'm Dawn Dickerson. I teach 5th grade at Lanigan, and as you can see, I am all about gamifying and using the panels in a way that students aren't just watching, you know, they're part of the learning experience. And with the flat panels, because of the dual touch capabilities, there's more than, or multiple touch capabilities, there's more than one student at a time that can be at the board. We'll do a lot of math warm-ups where students are doing, as you can see in the middle picture, students are doing math relays, and because they can both do it at the same time, it's just incredibly interactive and engaging. And then, as Amy was talking about, Lumio, the software piece, is incredibly important because it allows teachers to easily create games and lessons that allow the students to really become engaged. So in the first and the third picture, you can see students are really into our math warm-up where they have to basically match an input and an output, and they have to beat other teams. And then today we did one where the students had to hatch their monster egg sooner than other teams. But what the panel allows is students to be incredibly engaged while multiple students are doing it at the same time.
So Dawn actually shared one of her lessons with us. We wanted to kind of give you an idea. This is a Lumio lesson. The teacher can start it on the panel, and it actually appears on the students' devices where they're able to answer and interact and follow along on their devices. So this is a little clip about what you can do. So I should say, so this is from the student view. So they were doing an individual handout, and now this is a game that you would have multiple students playing on teams or independently answering questions to get their monster. And one of the great things about this one is that you actually, the questions cycle back around. So if the student gets it wrong, they get another chance to try it again.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Vitor. I teach kindergarten at Forest Elementary, and I've been lucky enough that I was one of the pilots for the interactive panel. I had the first one in the district, so I've gotten a lot of experience with it. I've got 3 pictures up there of my kindergartners. The first one, they're moving fish into the fish ponds that the penguin is eating. We are all theme-based in my kindergarten class, and this week we're doing penguins. So I managed to find penguin lessons on our edition, which is our concept. You can see the second one, our attendants, they come in, they move their penguin into the igloo, and it hides in there, and you can see them hiding it in there. And they just love being able to move themselves, and they hide it, and they figured out that they can make it peek over the top too. And in the last slide, every morning I do a morning message. I purposefully make mistakes on it so that they can then use the annotation editing tools to fix my mistakes, and they just love to fix my mistakes. And exactly. And I get to change the color of the ink so that they can see the different colors of who corrected what if I want to. One of my most favorite things about the board that we don't have a picture of is yesterday was the first day we've put on snow equipment for the year because we haven't been, thankfully, had much snow. So we had to talk about the steps that the students needed to put on their gear, because many students, kindergarten, put on their gloves first. You can't do that. So we had the whiteboard up, which has this wonderful thing where you can pull up pictures, and the kids could say, okay, first you have to put on your snow pants. So then I could Google, you just look at the thing and it says snow pants, and it pops up an image. And we put it on there. So we did snow pants, and then boots, and then coat, and then hat, and then gloves is last. The wonderful thing about this board is then it saves to my Google Drive. I get to then go print that poster that they created and print it for them so that now they can see what their steps are for getting ready that they created themselves. And then I cannot be remiss of the most practical feature is that they move up and down. So when my kids are sitting on the floor, it's lower. For my smaller kids, we still have to have a step stool for some of them. To reach the board, it's down low. And then when they're standing and dancing to the Jack Hartman videos that we all know they love, it can go up higher. So when they're tall and they're in the back. So we love the practical ease of being able to move the board up and down. So. We absolutely love it. Anything else?
So, first of all, as you can see, both Dawn and Tiffany are extremely creative and utilizing features of the board, engaging students and enhancing their instruction along the way. This has just been, these two have been an integral part in making sure that teachers in their building also feel prepared and learn different ways to interact with the board. However, we do have just moving on to some of the next steps as far as where we're going with this, because even though elementary is now entering that 201, 301 beginning stages of that particular training, our tiered system of support with teachers like Tiffany and Dawn within the buildings. Now we are able to rely on teachers like them, as well as other tech leads, to start moving their teachers forward while we go on to some of the secondary training that we're going to start with admin very soon at the secondary level. Starting with 101, again, just so they're able to model some things for their staff. We've already put a panel in each of the secondary media centers, and each secondary building has 2 what we call floater panels. The floater panels are in the future for teachers that if they need to present somewhere else in the building, or if we have an issue with one of the interactive panels, then we have 2 floater ones that the building can utilize immediately. The floaters right now are just being passed around by some of the teachers in the buildings, so that way they can start navigating and exploring and working on the panels themselves before they actually get training. We have plans to, again, train our building instructional leaders. We're putting the panels in our building tech leads at the secondary levels early this February. Our tech leads at the secondary level have also already been trained, so now we're going to have multiple panels in the secondary buildings before teacher training even begins.
And then our goal is also to kind of do a little mini tour to all the secondary buildings, make ourselves available for teachers to kind of get that preview, because it's been a while since we did our full district building tour last year. So we want to reintroduce that.
So a couple pieces just to highlight is, I think what Patrick said so nicely is the collaboration. There's a couple Sorry, I want to acknowledge what Patrick talked about in terms of the collaboration between the 2 departments, but just a couple things to highlight is one of the things that teacher leaders on my team are working on is how do we layer in teacher voice at each piece of the work. Also, how do we create layered professional development, pieces that are optional, pieces that are required, pieces that are in person, pieces that are virtual, synchronous, or asynchronous, and how do we create ongoing sustained support. So the work that they've done with the interactive flat panels with elementary and now transitioning into secondary with a 2-year implementation plan for those panels really allows us to now leverage what we've learned from the elementary and the secondary. But always, how are we creating multiple layers of support and meeting teachers where they are? We're going to have wins, and we're going to have some misses. But we're really trying to make sure that those are a consistent part of our work. And so just a big thank you again to the teacher leaders and the teachers who are doing the work in the classroom, and to our collaboration with the schools.
Ms. Smith?
Now, I know you do the training, right, Ms. Hendrickson?
I do the training.
Are you training and then they rotate and start training the secondary?
So this group, this team, are the ones that trained elementary.
Right.
I kind of know how to use the boards. They know how to really use the boards. So they trained elementary through a series of opportunities. Now they're doing the same thing with secondary.
Well, great job. I love the presentation. I love the fine motor skills where you're moving. Yes, those were turtles, penguins. Somebody was going in a hole. I just know that. Good job. Thank you.
Ms. Hyman?
Yeah, there's a lot of new technology and a lot of time involved in training and things, and I'm just sitting here, not to throw a wrench in it, but with so much technology available, when you have sub-plans and guest teachers, is there some sort of training and support for your building subs and people are coming in so that they know how to use this, so that the teacher can leave, so the guest teacher can operate the classroom and fill in?
Yes, absolutely. So we have included the building subs. We actually even trained some of the building subs at the elementary level, right alongside at the same time that we did the elementary teachers.
And we have also created kind of a tip document for teachers to have about the best ways for them to supply the subs with sub plans, knowing that it's a new technology as well.
Thank you. As a classroom teacher myself, I'm a 7th and 8th grade middle school math and social studies teacher, and I'm going to be very sad tomorrow when I go back to my whiteboard and it doesn't swipe or move or anything. But I especially appreciate the multi-tiered layer of training and support that you're providing. Because so often in my 36-year career, I've gone to a training and then come back, and then the tools often in our classrooms don't get utilized to the extent that they can be when we don't provide these kinds of levels of support and training. So thank you so much for having the foresight to do that and giving teachers time and access to the materials both in person, electronically, and all sorts of different ways. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you to the brave teachers who were willing to pilot these approaches. It sounds like you are really taking these tools and running with them in wonderful ways.
And I'll end on that. We appreciate the board giving us time for all of our district updates. Obviously, we have a lot to share, a lot that we're proud of, a lot to celebrate, and it wouldn't happen without the leadership that we have around the district and our dedicated teachers and staff all throughout the school district. So those are our district updates for this evening.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Delgado. Next, we have reports from board committees, and this evening we have a report from the Communications and Community Engagement Committee with getting ahead of myself, Mr. Walker.
I'm claiming that as well. Thank you very much. So the Communications Community Engagement Committee, we met in preparation for our first board conversation happening this Thursday from 6:30 to 8:30. In short, we just had more or less a planning session that took place. The subject matter this Thursday is going to center around school safety and allowing the community and the board to come together and just have a discussion centered around what school safety is, gain some information centered around school safety, take information back from the community so that if there's any actionable items that we can move on as a district, that we can do so. The format is going to be one where we will have a facilitator, David Dulio, who will be coming in, and he will help facilitate the beginning of the discussion, break off into groups where the community will have a board member there present. Dr. Delgado has taken the time to put together some really great prompt questions that will center around and kind of push the dialogue forward. And I don't think we'll probably need a whole lot of pushing. I'm sure everyone has an awful lot to say and a lot to think about and a lot to share during that time. And that information that will be reported out. And then Dr. Dulio and team will work together to collaborate or pull together all of that information, and then there will be something of a larger report out to the group, and we'll close out that session. I'm excited about this being the first of many, and based on how things worked, we had an idea that our next conversation was going to extend itself to cell phone policy, but we think that that might work itself into Thursday's conversation, which opens up the door for additional topics for the remainder of the year. We have 2 more planned. The next one, if memory serves, will be in March, with the following one happening in May. The community is more than welcome to submit any topics that they would like to see for discussion. The easiest thing to do would be either email Dr. Delgado or email myself, and we will take that into consideration and try to come up with an opportunity where we can have those dialogues and move those kinds of conversations along the way. So it's an opportunity to engage, to connect, to communicate, to learn, to listen, to learn, and to grow, and to continue to build the trust that I think we've done a wonderful job with so far in the 2 years so far that we all have been serving together. So that is the report. from the Communications Community Engagement Committee.
Wonderful. And I'm not quite sure of Dr. David Giulio's complete title. I know that he's a professor and he's the head of the civility.
He works on the civility, he works with the civility project, but is one of the lead professors in the civility project in the department, I believe, of political science at Oakland University.
Yes.
Or public policy.
We had an opportunity, most of us on the board attended at least some of the 3 civility discourse board development opportunities throughout the fall. It was a series of 3 different workshops and conversations, and most of us were able to attend at least one of those. Some of us were able to attend all 3, and so that is where many of us had an opportunity to meet Dr. Giulio, and then thank you, Dr. Delgado, for reaching out to him through your connections through OU to invite him to help us facilitate these dialogues.
He is the director of the Center for Civic Engagement at Oakland University, a professor of political science, partners with the Civility Project, if you've heard, through the Detroit News and the Detroit Free Press. So he is our facilitator and is very excited to partner with Farmington on this really important community dialogue.
Wonderful. And there will be snacks. There will be snacks. I believe that we've asked people to sign up.
Yes. The protocol, because ideally we would have way more people coming than we could possibly serve, is that we send out a sign-up list that made available to the community. Have to cap that number at roughly 60 persons, but just so you know that we'll continue that process with subsequent ones, and who knows, maybe there'll be such a call for this that we have to do more so that we can create situations, opportunities for more people to engage, find larger ways and better ways to do it. So we're here to grow too.
Thank you. Very exciting. We've been working very hard for a long time to build up to this, and I hope the snow doesn't get in our way.
Yeah, assuming Death Storm 2023 doesn't stop.
Right. Well, hopefully it'll happen tomorrow. The snow will come and go tomorrow, and so for Thursday we'll be fine.
That's the plan.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mr. Walker.
My pleasure.
All right. Next, we have discussion items.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yep. And I see Mrs. Hendrickson approaching the podium as well. We're very, very excited to present to you this discussion item this evening that really highlights the work that we've been doing as a district when we think about literacy, when we think about our focus to student achievement. And you can see all these wonderful staff members with Mrs. Hendrickson. We're going to talk to you about a process that they are eventually recommending the adoption of a foundational skills program for K2 ELA. And it's really important that we have this conversation about the intentionality and the thoughtfulness that they put into piloting programs and exploring multiple programs to really make a difference in the lives of children. And we know that early childhood literacy opens the doors to everything. And so we're very excited to bring this presentation to the Board of Education this evening. Mrs. Hendrickson.
Pleasure to be here once again. As part of our district improvement plan, we do have K-12 area focuses in literacy. And so tonight, we're going to connect to one of our focuses around foundational skills instruction in the K-2 classrooms. And so this is just one piece of our larger district improvement plan in terms of moving forward literacy in the district. And I'm excited to introduce you to Kathy Olenzik, who is our K-5 literacy and social studies coordinator. And we have a number of wonderful teachers who are here with us today. But again, I want to give her the opportunity to honor them and introduce them because she's the one that has worked very closely with them. So I will hand it over to you, Kathy.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. As Margaret mentioned, I'm Kathy Olenzik, and I am the Elementary Literacy and Social Studies Coordinator for the district. I've been with Farmington since 1999, and most of that was spent as a classroom teacher at Kenbrook. So it has been a real privilege stepping into this role, which I started at the beginning of last year, as it has enabled me to engage in some work that is very near and dear to my heart, and that is early literacy and specifically foundational skills. So I am beyond excited to share with you tonight a proposal for the adoption of a program that will directly address these skills in our K-2 classrooms. So tonight we will be proposing the adoption of the EL Education Skills Block. And this is a program that will provide teachers with the materials and resources that they need to deliver explicit and systematic instruction of the Michigan K-2 Foundational Skills Standards. I have provided for you a copy of those standards, a hard copy as well as in your digital packet if you want to refer to those, but we will be talking a little bit more this evening about exactly what those skills are and what they look like in our classrooms. So before we get started, I wanted to introduce the team that I brought with me this evening. You already know Margaret, but she has been a super supportive partner in this work. Laura Koroleski, who is an instructional coach at Lanigan. Angelina Lowe, who is a second grade teacher at Lanigan. Beth Tandesky, first grade teacher from Hillside. Jordan Holmes, kindergarten teacher from Gill. And Tiffany Vitor, who is a kindergarten course, who already, she got to be part of 2 presentations this evening. Lucky her. I also wanted to take this opportunity to acknowledge all of the teachers who participated in our preview cycles. These teachers really did a nice job of going above and beyond, learning a new program, implementing it with their students in their classrooms, and then also being an important voice in the selection of a program. So thanks to all of these teachers. So you may be wondering, what are foundational skills? What are foundational literacy skills? These are the rudimentary skills that students need in order to read words on a page. We often call these word recognition skills, but essentially these are the skills that students need to crack the code of reading. And they include basic print concepts, which is understanding really how print works. For example, the connection between spoken and written language, so understanding that print is actually spoken language written down. Also understanding things like that print goes from left to right on a page, that sentences are made up of words, and those words are separated by spaces, ending punctuation, those types of things. Phonological awareness, which is understanding that spoken words are made up of individual sounds and sound parts, and students need to be able to hear and isolate those individual sounds and words to be able to apply that knowledge as they begin to read and spell words. Phonics is also a very important foundational skill, and that is about connecting those individual sounds and sound clusters to the letters that represent them and using that knowledge to read and write words. Phonics learning includes basic skills like learning letters and letter sounds, as well as sound spelling patterns. So you might hear about blends and diagraphs, diphthongs, things like that. But it also includes more advanced skills, such as learning syllable types, spelling rules, and morphology. Finally, and importantly, fluency is a very important foundational skill, and that is the ability of students to put all of these skills together in order to accurately and automatically read and spell words. This automaticity is important in order for students to put all of their brain power toward higher level comprehension of text, rather than on laboriously sounding out each word. So having a really solid understanding and ability to decode words fluently kind of allows students to be freed up to think about the text the way we want them to. The diagram that you're looking at on this slide is called Scarborough's reading rope, and it's a really nice model of reading that shows all of the skills, or strands, if you will, that students need to become proficient readers. Looking at that green strand, that represents word recognition skills, which are the foundational skills that I was just speaking of. The blue strand represents language comprehension, and language comprehension encompasses things like background knowledge, vocabulary, language structures, verbal reasoning, literacy knowledge, some very important aspects of literacy learning. As this model illustrates, foundational skills in literacy are a critical component of a child's literacy development, but are part of a larger set of literacy skills. These word recognition skills work together with the language comprehension skills, but children develop these skills simultaneously. So while early and emergent readers will spend a great deal of time learning foundational skills, it needs to be a strong focus in our K-2 classrooms. They should also have lots of opportunities to continue to develop these oral language and comprehension skills through really rich read-aloud and shared reading experiences, so that students have some experience with complex text that goes beyond only what they're able to decode. So what does this look like in a classroom? So my friend and colleague, Laura Korleski, is going to share with you a snapshot of what this learning might look like in a classroom.
So what you see on the slide are some examples of some of the wonderful little people engaging in some of these tasks. So things that you might see in the classroom, you might see children clapping out syllables or word parts. You could see students tapping out sounds and then blending them on their fingers, which might look like app, map. You could see students using magnetic letters and sound boxes to create words and then manipulate them. So change mat to map and change map to cap, and so how they would navigate that situation. You may see a child writing a dictated sentence given to them by their teacher where they're practicing the specific skills that they've been learning in whole group and small group instruction. You may see some sorts where students are sorting by spelling patterns or sounds. My favorite one is that young gentleman there looking in the mirror, where he's really paying attention to what his mouth is doing when he creates sounds, which also brings into that movement part where we know students, they know what their movement looks like, how it feels in their mouth, and what it looks like to others when you're speaking. You may see students building words and then blending and segmenting them. And then you also may see children reading decodable text where they're reading words that highlight the skills that they're learning. So you can see that everything is interconnected and intertwined, but lots of really rich learning experiences for children.
So why a program? A major reason we began considering a formal program to address these skills is teacher demand. Our amazing K-2 teachers are teaching these skills, but have been asking for more and better resources to teach these skills in a manner that is consistent and systematic across the grades. And we know that is also what research really supports, is a very systematic approach to teaching foundational skills. Also, our district data, which includes a formative assessment that we use in our K-3 classrooms, which is the Core Phonics Survey, tells us that it shows a need for increased focus in the area of foundational skills. Additionally, this is in alignment with our ongoing district literacy improvement plan, which outlines an increased focus on foundational skills and is something we have been working on through a variety of professional learning activities that we have offered for teachers over the past 12 months. You may have read in your board briefs or heard teachers or seen teachers talking about sound walls and secret stories, and these were some supplementary resources that we have provided for teachers and wrapped some nice professional learning around those resources that is aligned with the essential practices in early literacy. We began this process by asking teachers what do they hope to see in a foundational skills program. And these are some of I just pulled some of their responses that spoke to the theme that rose out of this survey of 90 to 100 teachers that we surveyed. And you can see that their responses show that of utmost importance to our teachers is having a resource that provides explicit instruction, consistency of instruction across grades, and most importantly, gives them the tools and resources to match instruction with the individual needs of each learner in their classroom. I wanted to talk just a little bit about our selection process. It was very important to us to use a process that put teacher voice at the center, with representation from kindergarten, first, and second grade across our elementary buildings. We used an approach, as Dr. Delgado mentioned, that was somewhat different from a traditional pilot. We called it preview cycles. And in these preview cycles, each of our participating teachers had the opportunity to have a full day of training in either Wilson Foundations or EL Education Skills Block. And then they implemented that program in their classrooms for at least a 2-week cycle. Teachers were supported throughout these cycles with some coaching or co-planning as needed, and principals also had the opportunity to observe one or more lessons with me so that they had an opportunity to ask questions about either program. Upon completion of these preview cycles, we all came together as a group for a full day to debrief our experience and evaluate both programs using a specific set of criteria that we pulled from a rubric that I shared with you. Tiffany Vitor is here again, and she was one of our preview cycle teachers, and I asked her just to share a couple words about her experience with this kind of unique experience of previewing a program.
Took half my words. So we got to do a full day of, I won't call it debriefing, unpacking the unit or the preview thing that we were doing. And we got to talk with our coworkers and plan together what we were going to do. And then when we were implementing it, Kathy was right along the side, and I could say, hey, what do I do for this? Or I'm missing this, where do I find this? And she was always there. My principal, Robin Vichazone, was right there beside me, asking me questions. How do you like it? She was asking me if I had talked to the other person in my building who was previewing the other cycle, and I said yes, and we compared notes. The debrief cycle was, we all got together and came together and talked about it. I don't think I have anything else to say, but it was an amazing opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you. So during our debrief process, which was a full day with each of the cohort groups, we focused on 3 main things. So really throughout the selection, these were the things we were focusing on as we were thinking about both of these programs. One was alignment. So how did each program align with research and our Michigan standards? Also, we looked at responsiveness, or the flexibility of the program to respond to the needs of each learner in our classroom. So that's a differentiation piece, was very important to us. And then we also looked at teacher usability. So considering accessibility of resources, the instructional time and prep time that would be required, as well as any professional learning that might be needed for a successful implementation. So in terms of content, both of the programs that we previewed, both Wilson Foundations and EL Education Skills Block, were well aligned with standards and research-based literacy practice. Otherwise, we wouldn't have included them as part of this pilot. But our preview teachers, through our process, found that the EL Education Skills Block did a much better job over Foundations at providing the resources needed to address the wide range of needs that you would find in any primary grade classroom. In evaluating teacher usability, we found that EL Skills Block may be a slightly heavier lift for teachers at first, but the quality and the variety of materials included with the program and the strong differentiation components are worth the extra time and effort that it may take teachers to learn the program. So for that reason, we will be doing a scaffolded implementation plan, making sure to really put a lot of thought and intention into providing teachers with the time and support that they will need to successfully implement this program. I'm going to have Laura come back, and she's going to talk a little bit more about the highlights of this program, and that's going to be followed by the 3 the 3 teachers that actually previewed this program with their students, and they're just going to talk about some of the things that they noticed through this process.
Oh, and I get more than one slide, so I get to click the button. So while there's lots of different highlights I could talk about with the skills block, there are 3 that really stand out. The first one is the assessment plan. And the assessment plan allows teachers to assess the skills across a grade level continuum. That being said, that's pretty a unique process because the same assessment is given to kids K through 2, and based on where their reading lies, their skills are, it puts them in a phase. We talked about Aries phases of reading development, puts them in a phase, more importantly, a micro phase. And then that allows teachers to differentiate their instruction based on the phase, the micro phase of where students are in their reading. It also allows for teachers to track the students' progress, not with just a random number, they got a 90%, but with the phase of reading development, which is huge. And then the skills block provides differentiated instruction for those students. So as a classroom teacher, I may give the assessment and find that I have 5 learners in the late consolidated phase of reading development. I group them together and use it to drive my instruction, so I'm meeting the needs of those students. So think about that as a part of the Tier 2. There's also a decodable text that's aligned, and you saw the picture in one of my previous slides where the student was reading a book. So the decodable text aligned with the scope and sequence, again, right at the meeting the needs of the students where they are.
So the resources are part of the program?
Yes.
That's amazing.
All of them. So you do the assessment, right? You have Tier 1 instruction so that all students have access to grade level curriculum. But based on their phase, then you can differentiate, and that's at Tier 2. But the decodable text is there for both small group and whole group instruction, and it gets even better. Watch this. Yes.
Well, as long as
I'm sorry.
you broke the
Did you
ice.
interrupt?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I'm just jotting down questions, but once the kids are in a phase, can they move phases?
Yes.
They're not locked in?
Drastically. And that's the beauty of it, is because it is on a reading continuum, right? Okay. So I may have, if I'm teaching first grade, I may have students who are working in a small group in an area that could be considered a kindergarten area that we would typically see. But I might have students that are working in second grade area, we might see in second grade. But the progression that you see through the phases is remarkable. So we've seen it within classrooms already, students progressing through the phases. They're fluid and flexible, but students progress along that reading continuum.
Does this allow you to catch kids that might be like dyslexic or have a reading disability or something that they come into kindergarten and it isn't identified? Is that something that the teachers are trained to pick up on those things?
Process in the district is an MTSS process. So any students who we would notice that aren't progressing through the phases, despite Tier 1 instruction and additional Tier 2 instruction that is specifically aligned to their needs, then we would, bring that student to our MTSS team to talk about possible next steps for that student. So to answer your question, is this an assessment that is designed to identify students with specific learning disabilities such as dyslexia? It certainly is not. But it would be it would raise some red flags in order for teachers to be able to investigate a little bit further. in order to see what students might be having difficulty so that we can take some next steps.
Okay.
She nailed it.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Meeks. Yeah, thank you. That was actually a question that I was going to get to as well. First off, I'm coming off of just reading a report from the Michigan Achieves campaign on the 2023 State of Michigan Education Report, which highlights, the history of education in Michigan and projects where we're going and suggests really 10 things that we could do to really move the needle. And one of them was around, addressing early literacy. So I'm really glad to see that this is our focus.
Yes.
It also talked about, Mrs. Heinrich, so that was one of 10 solutions to really hone in on that. Another one was to identify students with dyslexia and other learning disabilities and ensure they receive the support that they need. So what I saw through reading this, and for those who don't have the benefit of having a board packet, there were 400 pages included in here for our reading pleasure. Didn't get through all 400, but got through as many as I could.
I thought it was 800.
800? It might have been. My printer stopped at 400. Maybe because I ran out of paper.
I skimmed.
Okay. But I did notice that what you were looking for, as you showed in your presentation, was a responsiveness to the individual needs of learners, which I thought, could get us to the point where we can start identifying some of that stuff. And I also noticed that there was an element in here of addressing what they call learner variability, which was really helpful in recognizing that there are some students who may be different compared to the expectation, right? And so there are a number of strategies that were listed in here to address some of that, some of which came from the Dyslexia Institute or like different modalities in terms of teaching folks who have different types of learning disabilities, so that was helpful. I do hope that there is, a next level or step. I think we're moving in the right direction to start identifying some of those differences in students where they may need differentiated instruction. This is really great. I'm glad to see that we're focused on this because it's hugely important. We know that it's extremely important for students to have strong reading skills by the time they're in 3rd grade. So I applaud the district on that.
So thinking about what the skills block, and this might answer some more questions. What does it look like in a classroom? What does it look like day to day? So the daily routine is that there is between 15 and 30 minutes of explicit whole group instruction where students have access to grade level curriculum. Everyone has access, and that's what we know is important. Everyone has access to that grade level curriculum. And then the remaining hour, it's meant to be an hour, the remaining hour is differentiated small group instruction. So the program provides teachers with the resources that they need to teach the full group lesson. It also provides them with the resources that they need for those differentiated small group instructional pieces, including the decodable text. And then the question is, so what are the other kids doing while the teacher is meeting with small groups? The program also provides us with purposeful, independent work rotations that align to the content that's been taught. So they're engaged in rigorous activities that meet the needs and enforce the skills that they've been taught. So the whole standalone skills block program is about an hour. Can I push the button again?
It's going to start us off. Angelina Lowe, 2nd grade at Lanigan. I started the preview cycle as soon as Kathy dropped that box off. She brought some sample materials. She dropped that box off in my classroom. I met with Laura as our instructional coach, and I was like, I want to start. I want to start now. I'm excited. We need this. We've needed this for a long time. Laura and I met, and we were like, where do we start? Well, we have to start at the assessment piece that Laura talked about quite a bit. So we administered the assessments right away. The assessments were completely user-friendly. In 2nd grade, I took a look at first at just the decoding, so word reading, and then encoding, the spelling. So very similar to a Words Their Way assessment that a lot of teachers in our district use just to assess spelling needs and knowing if kids know spelling patterns or not. So we took a look at that, and then for some of my students that I saw were in a micro phase that was in kindergarten or they were not reading words, they were not decoding words, they were not encoding words. They scored 1 to 2 on those assessments. I went back to some of the kindergarten assessments where very similar to the MLPP that we are giving for our kindergartners, letter, names, and sounds. And we also did a phonemic awareness, phonological awareness assessment with those students just to see what their needs are. When we did those, we used the conversion chart, and I'm just going to flip back to that. We were able to pinpoint where each of my students' needs were using this conversion chart, very similar to what this looks like, to determine their targeted instruction for both small groups in Tier 1 as well as Tier 2 instruction. The assessments align to the Aries phases of reading development, and that chart does as well, to determine the microphases of instruction and allow for a common language amongst our PLCs and our MTSS teams in each building and then across the district as well. So it allows for greater collaboration amongst our district to better meet the needs of each of our students, especially in K2. And then that will hopefully benefit upper L as well in the future. The assessments are also consistent for K2, which allows us to see the progression of learning and pinpoint each student's individual area of needs for foundational instruction. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jordan Holmes. I teach kindergarten at Gill Elementary, and I too dove right in as soon as we were given the materials. And I've seen tremendous growth and progress in my students, especially in kindergarten. It really runs the gamut of kids who've never been in school before, all the way to students who are reading, maybe at an end of first grade, second grade level. And I'm just going to speak a little bit to the differentiated resources that are included. And that's kind of like the big sparkly thing that's coming along with the skills block. But I can't tell you how incredible it has been for me as a teacher logistically planning for my students to have independent work, because independent work in kindergarten is very difficult to reach that audience, but all of the resources are there. So when I'm in Module 3 and we're working on these items, the independent work is there and I can differentiate it. I have students who are still working on beginning sounds, but I also have students who are ready to start looking at ending sounds or manipulating middle vowel sounds. They're all doing a word sort, but their words that they're tackling or the pictures they're using are different. All of that is in my lesson plan. It's digital for me to click and print. My small group instruction, so what was previously like our guided reading groups, those look a little bit different. They're more focused, skill-based, again, using the information from those assessments. And I'm able to have systematic, effective, easy to prepare lessons with the text that aligns with that group. So there's a poem in kindergarten to start because we're not necessarily ready for those decodable texts, but they're working with print. I have those poems for my small group. I have activities available that are all there for extending and challenging learning, and then also supporting Tier 2 students who might need a little bit more of an intervention approach. So all of that is there. It's all included. There's also different activities that can be assigned through Clever, and students can log on and complete digital word sorts or sound sorts, and then I get to see that on my end in terms of accountability and checking that independent work. What did it look like? Are they growing and doing it correctly? Thanks. Wow.
Hi, I'm Beth Tandesky, first grade teacher at Hillside, and for me, the part of EL education skills block that I found most beneficial for teachers and students was the decodable texts. And there are decodable texts that are provided with each cycle of the program. Now, during each cycle, we teach students how to decode and encode, read and write specific spelling patterns. And in the past, I would spend a great deal of time searching for books that included the spelling pattern so that I was currently teaching so that kids could be practicing with the spelling pattern that we were teaching. But with the EL Education Skills Block, the decodable readers for each spelling pattern we teach are included with the program. And so these decodable texts are saving me a lot of time because I'm not searching, for books that match the spelling patterns that we're teaching. And also students are able to have that repetitive practice with reading the spelling pattern that we've been working on in our lessons daily. This is extremely beneficial for students because they really need opportunities to read text that allows them to apply the spelling patterns that we're focusing on in our daily lessons. And I found that using the decodable readers is really helping to build the confidence of my students who have been struggling to feel that they are successful readers.
Thank you. Promise, only a few more slides. I wanted to show you what is included with our purchase. I shared with you in your packet a copy of the initial quote and what would be included in this initial purchase. First and foremost, teachers will be provided with all of the print resources, even though everything will be available digitally. The initial purchase will include also the print resources. I've brought with us 3 kits if you care to dig a little deeper into this, and you've got a wagon or like a cart, you're welcome, but also you might want to take a look at the decodable text because that is also included in this purchase. You've heard the teachers rave about these decodable text. They are gold. The best thing about them is that they are consumable. So every year, each classroom will be provided with a set of approximately 20 or so decodable text. Each student gets their own, so they can highlight in it, circle words in it, and they can take it home and practice it, and they get to keep it at the end of each learning cycle. So as I said, teachers will be provided with a fresh set of these at the beginning of every school year. Also, an awesome component of this program is the digital subscription through Imagine Learning. This subscription will give teachers access to some amazing tools, including digital versions of their manuals and lesson slides with teacher notes. Teachers will be able to take those slides and all of the resources really within the digital platform and be able to customize their lessons and assign tasks and activities, as they mentioned, to students, including videos and interactive digital tools for students to be able to practice these skills. I have shared a digital copy, and I apologize for all of your 800 pages. I know probably 200 of those were mine. So thank you for looking at all of it. So I did share a digital copy of the EL Skills Block resource manual. So if you were really interested in digging in and learning a lot more about this program, that would be a great starting point for you. And I already mentioned those. So this is what we're getting. And I want to just go through what our next steps are. So we're very excited, as you can tell, by this proposal, and we hope that you agree with our choice. Once we receive your formal approval, our next steps include purchasing materials so that we can get these tools into the hands of our teachers as early as possible so that they can start exploring and planning well in advance of the next school year. We're also planning on rolling out a series of preliminary learning opportunities this winter and spring to begin learning more, to give our teachers the opportunity to learn more about this program, and more formal training this summer and next fall. We hope to begin a phased implementation beginning at the start of next school year. And finally, as we have said, foundational skills are one part of literacy learning in our K-5 classrooms. This particular program addresses K-2, and I neglected to mention that we do have some third graders who may need some additional support in foundational skills. So our third grade teachers will be provided with access to the digital platform so that they can use those resources to differentiate for their students in third grade. So I forgot to mention that, so I wanted to go back to that. But we will also, starting next year, we're going to do some similar preview cycles to look at core ELA programs that address all those other strands of that Scarborough's reading rope that we looked at. And we hope to bring a recommendation to you next year at this time to begin implementation the following school year, starting in 2024. So I appreciate and thank you for your time, and we welcome any additional questions that you may have.
Yeah, thank you to your teachers for, I mean, I'm looking at it's 8:45 and it's a school night, and you have to adjust your lesson plans for a half day tomorrow. So thank you for coming and sharing. But just as far as your teachers that are piloting, are they, do they get to use these for the rest of the school year? So it wasn't just a 2 weeks, so you're using them?
So all of our teachers who previewed EL Skills Block are continuing to use it. They have chosen to. And really remarkably, all 100% of the teachers who previewed Wilson Foundations have willingly and happily switched over to EL Skills Block. So all 15 of our teachers are using that program, and we are going to be tapping on those preview cycle teachers to host some labs for us this winter and spring so that some of our other teachers can come in and see some of those lessons modeled.
That's what I was wondering. Do you have somebody in every building, so they'll be like the leaders, then they'll help transition this next year?
And that was part of the grand plan, absolutely.
Okay, so thank you for doing that, for taking that risk and putting the time in.
Very well.
Because one of the things that I liked about your, early in the presentation, I wrote down that you had time and support in order to learn this program, and that's an important component of it. And the fact that there's consistency across the district, so that, all the teachers across the district are doing the same thing and sharing resources. And I think that's really good to make us a stronger program for our district and our
Very
students.
important.
Ms. Good?
I'm sorry I missed the first half. I had to walk cross-country to the bathroom. Feels like Green Acres around here these days. But at the end of the day, I am very impressed with what you have going on. I hope that we will continue this throughout all of our schools. Just looking and reading through it at home, it shows that our students are invested in learning as well as you are invested in teaching it. I can't wait to see parents take a part of this too and see what's going on. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, a couple added points. First of all, I respect teachers, and I respect the fact that all of the teachers who have used this are supportive of what's being recommended today. It's helpful that I know some of the teachers that are standing up there today, and I have a high degree of respect for them, and so that means a lot to me too. Interestingly, the third point in the 10 list of things that we should be considering is prioritizing educator recruitment, retention, and support, inclusive of professional learning and all of that sort of stuff. So this is all resonating with me. I do have a question. I don't have any problem with the dollar amount that I see in front of me. It equates to about $30 a student. That is well worth the investment. I do have a question, though, about what is the ongoing cost associated with this? Is this one time? Is this something that we have to do on an annual basis? Again, $30 a student is not significant, so I do want to just understand that piece of it, though.
Yes, so this initial purchase is high because it includes the print resources for teachers, which will be a one-time purchase. And I would say that's over half of the cost. Beyond this initial startup year, costs will go significantly down. As I mentioned, the recurring costs will be the decodable texts that you see there. We'll continue to purchase those because they're wonderful and they're consumable and they're great for students, as well as the subscription to the Imagine Learning digital platform, which is really a game. It's not something, so every district that adopts EL education, that program, they don't necessarily opt in to the Imagine Learning platform. We found that and found it to be a game-changing element of this program. So that is something we definitely want to have to provide that extra layer of support for our teachers and students.
Thank you.
We generally have continued subscription costs for the online platforms with most materials that we use. And at the elementary, we frequently have consumables. One of the nice pieces is as part of our coordinated spending of state and federal grants as well as general fund, we every year apply to the state for additional funds. And we are able to actually purchase this through those additional, remember the name, 35?
Additional instruction time grants. So that is, that is the really nice thing about this, is that this program adoption focused on foundational literacy skills directly aligns with what they want to see these grant dollars spent on. You may have heard it referred to as the 35A grant, but it's specific to early literacy in regards to that read by grade 3 law that you hear so much about. So the grants that we receive each year are more than enough to cover the ongoing costs of this program.
Thank you. Mr. Walker.
Yeah, that was actually one of the couple of questions, but that speaks to one of the questions that I had, that the program aligns with Read by 3, and those funds are what the state is offering us to help support that particular initiative, or law, I should say, so I'm correcting that. Are there assessments or a mechanism to determine that after a couple, 3 years of the use of this program, it's moving the needle like we really want it to move? And how long will we have to wait before we feel like we know that this is doing what we want it to do?
Well, if you ask the teachers, they're going to tell you 2 weeks they see it. 3 weeks, 3 weeks they see the impact. But what is nice is we'll be transitioning from the Correspondence survey, which we've been using the last 2 years to kind of monitor where we are, which provided us data for where we need to go. We're going to come up with a mechanism of collecting specific targeted data so we can monitor the progress, not just on student achievement in terms of their skills, but also on progress monitoring, staff implementation, staff needs, seeing what the student experience is like. So we're going to identify multiple measures to dip into periodically so we can monitor where we are today and use that to then set up where we're going. One of the things we're talking a lot about is program evaluation. So when you start something fresh, you can make clear decisions as some indicators that you want to monitor and adjust those indicators as needed. And so we're very excited to be able to start that work.
The fact that our teachers have experienced significant improvement across a wide range of student needs in just 2 to 3 weeks speaks volumes.
And the essence that we were able to dip in on a learning continuum to prior grade level and next grade level content, regardless of what grade level the assessment, allows us to do intervention. Everyone does grade level content, an opportunity for acceleration. And that aligns to our intention to focus on growth as a vehicle for moving achievement for all learners, no matter where you are relative to the grade level content. So we appreciated that allowance afforded by this program to allow meeting the range of needs, as you talked about in like a kindergarten classroom. Our teachers deserve resources that allow them to do that hard work. What is impressive to me is they sound like they teach advanced placement foundational skills. So as you listen to our lower L student teachers talk, and when I hear Kathy, this is to me like AP Calc. Like there's things you understand and don't understand, probably the community and yourself even. I've learned so much in this process, watching and listening. Foundational skills is a rigorous, is rigorous. It just is for us as we craft the work for experiences for students, but also our understanding. It's just not instruction that teachers need professional learning on. It's also the content. And one of the key pieces about this program in particular, just by the act of doing the program, we grow in our instructional skill set and our content alongside the other professional. And for those that can't, they're shaking their heads. So I thank all of them. This is teacher leadership at the core. Again, how we provide layering supports, how are we having intentional plans and processes, and how are we engaging teacher voice. So thank you, Board of Education. Dr. Delgado for allowing us to be here today.
We have more questions.
Just one more
Oh,
question.
I'm sorry.
No, just to clarify, I know nothing is 100%, but in terms of across the district, teachers have bought into this. They want this program.
So the process that we went through had a few layers. There was staff survey. There were opportunities for staff and come to see after school, paid opportunities to preview both programs, plus those staff that went really intense into it. And the whole group of 15, we had unanimous consensus that this was the resource that the people who went really deep into wanted. And what is nice is that they're talking to their friends. We could have been in a good place with either program in terms of alignment, but the challenges and the needs of our system, we feel like this is the right program for ours. Our teachers wanted something. They were actually asking for things for a number of years. We've been working on this for a while.
Yeah, so I think
anything's a lift, and we want to be by themselves. So there won't be a lack of stress because it's trying something new, but they have a joy in knowing they're receiving something, and they have been great ambassadors to the work.
Yeah, so that's the exciting part, is teachers have been asking for this for years. We're finally giving them the tools they need to be able to address these skills. So they're happy to just have something. And as, we begin to share what actually is included with this program, all of the things that they're going to have at their fingertips, I think teachers are going to love this, and they're going to be very excited about it. I think they already are excited by it. Already teachers are asking, when can we get our stuff and when can we start? I anticipate teachers starting before the end of the school year.
At Lanigan, at least, I can come back up here. At Lanigan, at least, people are tapping, other K-2 teachers have been tapping Laura and myself, stopping in my classroom, just asking questions about it and what can they get started with already, because they're ready to start.
Awesome.
So.
Yes, Max.
So did I hear that this is a pilot?
We just finished a preview process in which we were piloting the resources, foundations, and EL education. So this is our recommendation that of those two programs, we would like the board at the next board meeting to take action on approving our recommendation to adopt EL education as our foundational skill program in the district.
So if this is a pilot, what schools are going to be using it? And for those schools that are using it, are all K through 12th grade within a particular school? Are all of them going to take advantage of this, or is this just a small pilot that you're looking at?
We're asking for a district-wide adoption for our K-2 classrooms of the EL Foundation in all of our buildings.
Okay. So what's right here is for every one of the elementary schools, every classroom in the elementary schools? Okay.
K-2.
K through 2.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah. With access available to the third grade teachers as well as they need access to those tools.
Sorry.
Did you want to? Go ahead. I had something I want to say, but you go ahead. Thank you so much, teacher leaders, for having the courage and taking the tremendous amount of time and being willing to invest the effort and heart into testing out these materials. I'm so excited for the successes that you've already had and that you're excited to be able to continue. And I don't know if there will be an opportunity later in the year to come back and let us know how it's going. So thank you so much, and I'm really excited for all of our K-2 teachers and students around this program. I also really value the common language that it will help us develop as a school district around these important foundational skills. We have heard about phonics and we've heard about decoding. There are so much, all these micro phases, these micro levels that a lot of us didn't learn about in ed school. We weren't taught the science of reading. The science of reading didn't exist in the 80s when I was in school. So, it's such important knowledge for us all to have access to. And it sounds like this program, by the doing of this program, we as teachers will automatically gain skill and awareness in these deeper levels of the science of teaching reading, and then develop this common language district-wide around this. Also, one of the things that Ms. Hendrickson, that you explained to us earlier is that this foundational skills piece, so typically we have in the past, we've taught reading and we've taught writing, and this is a third other component. Reading and writing aren't going to go away. This is, in addition, we're going to dedicate this hour, each day to these specific foundational skill sets that we're finding are the great area of need for a lot of our students, and we're going to provide teachers with the resources to be able to meet the students wherever they are and help them gain their strength so that they can do the other reading and writing activities. So,
Absolutely.
Dr. Delgado?
Yes, thank you. And I just wanted one final thought. So I wish we could take a break and give you certificates as well. And all 15 teachers who piloted this, there is extensive research, national research on the implementation of programs, not just educational programs, but across all industry. And, one of the largest studies comes out of the University of South Florida, a meta-analysis of the last 30 years of evaluation of programs and implementation. And the very first step, there are essentially 7 steps or 7 phases. The first phase is exploration. And most people in most organizations are notorious for skipping exploration and jumping to step 2, which is adoption. And so in education, you get some superintendent like me who goes to a conference and says, hey, that's a great program, let's implement that. And so we don't typically take the time to explore something, to pilot it, to dig into it, and actually to have a control group. So really kudos to the thoughtfulness of your leadership here and the 15 teachers to actually pilot 2 different programs for the right reasons, for foundational skills, and to really take the time for the exploration phase. The next phases are obviously adoption, and then we get into kind of program installation, preparing the groundwork, and it takes a while to get to actual full implementation, and then sustainability. If we stay the course for several years, adhering to this with fidelity, and that's really where the key is a couple of years in when it gets a little uncomfortable or we get a little pushback from kids or parents or somebody else, it's staying the course and implementing this with fidelity. So I'm very, very thankful for all of your efforts and for your commitment tonight and sharing with our board and with the public this really, really hopeful future foundational skill development program. So thank you all.
Just one thing, I'm sorry. I would just like, to your point, I would just like to see as this continues, assuming, don't want to speak, too soon, but that there's a component where parents are brought in and they're able to understand, district-wide layout like this is pretty significant. And so that parents are brought into that learning process and they understand how their kids are being taught so that when those terms show up on a report card or something like that, a parent isn't looking at this and what exactly are they giving my child? So somewhere along the way in this process, I would love to see how parents are brought in and incorporated into it. And maybe that'll minimize any potential pushback because it'll take care of any misunderstandings.
And we've actually had conversation, not specific to this program, but with Mr. Hull from FAAPN and the tutoring program and actually doing some presentations or parent education Saturdays. We're actually teaching this new program that we're delivering for our foundational skills and literacy for the tutors as well as for the parents to understand what we're focusing on and then how they can partner with our teachers at home through the online modules. So this is very, very exciting. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much.
It is one of the essential practices for organization around literacy to do parent engagement. So those are one of those pieces that we've been talking about.
Absolutely. And I would like to add that, so those skills that I kind of outlined in terms of what are foundational skills, many of those skills, particularly phonological and phonemic awareness, those skills, students begin to learn those from birth. So there's a huge advantage to bringing parents and families into this conversation, especially ones that have, pre-kindergartners at home and babies at home so that they can begin to work with their children and know the value in, addressing phonological awareness and phonemic awareness at home, so that our kids come to school with some of these skills in place. And many of our students do.
Not to keep you here all night, but, I'm just like listening and questions pop up, but.
We could stay here all night. We're so excited about this.
You might. But, we're talking about our early childhood center, so is there push down from this into the early childhood? And we also had the library here, and I know the library runs a program, 1,000 books before kindergarten, so, is there push down and push out with this?
This particular set of instructional resources does not push down pre-K, but that doesn't mean we don't have these skills being taught through the instructional models that are happening there. And then there was one other piece you said, and I'm trying to remember.
Library.
We actually just met, as Mr. Smith has been meeting with the local library. We've been meeting with the local library as well in terms of partnering with them on different pieces and parts to support literacy as well. So we're working to extend some partnerships as well.
This is amazing.
We're excited. Thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hang on, my computer went.
Think public comments.
Yes. All right, next, excuse me. By the way, I don't have COVID, this is asthma. So, all right. Next, we have public comment. So if you would like to speak at public comment, we invite you to fill out a card. They are over at the table to the side of the room. You can put it in the ceramic dish over here by Ms. Starren. And you will have 3 minutes to share your comments. Okay. We have Mr. Bill Lubaway. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. I was excited to hear that there was an actual discussion of education at the board meeting, and I was excited to see enthusiasm in the board. And I spent the day in my basement looking at an Excel spreadsheet. There was a school grades report released by the state of Michigan for 21 and 22. And that came out in December. It was distributed in December. And as I looked at it, pulled out the spreadsheets, I decided, well, I'm an accountant, so I added up the numbers. If you could take a look at the spreadsheet, column AA, the one thing that sticks out for me is, and I'll read it, compared to proficiency performance of peer schools across the state, that's column AA, Farmington schools ranked 3 C's of the 14 schools in the district, 10 D's, and 1 F at Wood Creek. You flunked. You didn't flunk. This school board has been graded as a D. And that's what I've been complaining about. And that's what Huge has been complaining about. So what I'd like to do is go back to a follow-on. It's too bad I got to waste my time on a board comment, on a public comment, recognizing that we can't have a conversation. At the last board meeting, I made a recommendation that this district, $160 million business, act like the business that it is. And I asked that they develop a community benefit plan, an education budget similar to the financial budget. concurrent with the development of the 2023 and 24 budget. Concurrent with that. It's time to measure the value of our school expenditures. And budget goals and actions are expected to produce measurable student growth in progress. Then we can evaluate the success of the district, the Board of Education, and the superintendent compared to our goals. My opinion is we haven't done that. Unfortunately, after I made my comments at the last meeting, a board member didn't recognize that my recommendation is for 2023 and 2024. Adopt a budget.
Time, sir.
No, you cut me off last time.
I did not. It's time.
No.
Please respect that, please.
Point of order. We all have given everyone 3 minutes in the past, and we will be doing that tonight. I take offense to the attack on a colleague after this has been discussed prior to. So your 3 minutes are up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lovaway. Are there any other public comments? Thank you. Ms. Sunday Taylor.
Hi. I, too, was very excited with the presentation today. The information that we've been failing our kids with reading has been very clear for a very long time. 11 years ago, I was consistently told that my child couldn't read because she refused to look at the pictures and guess as to what the words on the page were. That's 11 years ago. I heard these teachers, which, by the way, I don't know that we saw a single teacher of color here today. I don't know, I could be wrong. But I heard these teachers say that they were seeing profound progress in 2 to 3 weeks with their students. This district has failed my particular child for 11 years. And that these teachers, who are very excited about this new reading program, have to wait to implement a program that is showing progress in 2 or 3 weeks. It's kind of sad to me, really. And it's kind of sad to me that community members and district employees have time and again, and previous district employees have said we're failing our kids in the area of reading. And while I'm super excited about it today, there are a lot of people who wrote and talked and did unpaid labor and were pushed out of the district for bringing up the fact that we were failing our children in reading. And my ask to you today would be to think about rolling out a program that teaches phonics, that teaches foundational skills that our kids are missing out. And our test scores show that they're missing out. And our test scores show that it's really important that we turn the corner and do something, which, by the way, I was taught DRA phonics in the 70s. So it's not new. It's not just invented. It's something we got away from. And it's really going to be sad if we make our kids wait until next year to really start a program that could change their lives today. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Is there any other public comment? Excuse me.
Good evening.
I need to, I think,
Oh, sorry.
Ms. Kelly Goldberg.
So I'm a parent who had 2 kids who needed reading intervention, and I'll tell you that in the time that they were in elementary school, I don't know what it looks like now, But when I kept hearing about the small group aspect of this, we had parents volunteering in the classrooms. You had a general ed parapro in addition to the regular classroom teacher who was not necessarily, not with a special ed student. That might have been a third adult who was already in the classroom. But it seems to me that you're going to have to get back to a volunteer corps, a dedicated volunteer corps that, of course, is appropriately vetted for security and iChat and all that. But I know they're doing that in Lansing schools with the Teach for America volunteers. They, teach community members to come in and do a similar program. And in fact, in one Lansing school, they're having Scholastic. This is a school where there's 100% for kids who qualify for free lunch. At the Scholastic Book Fair, the principal convinced the Scholastic folks to give, like they're having a night where the students can come and shop, but those families will not have to pay anything for those books. So I'm not saying we need to do that here in Farmington, but I know the pandemic decimated the ability to bring volunteers into the schools. I think if this program is going to succeed, you need to look at that. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Goldberg. Is there any other public comment? Seeing none, public comment is closed. All right, next we have, we have no action items this evening, so we will move on to items from the treasurer. Ms. Weems?
Yes. I move that the Board of Education approve the expenditures as outlined in the expenditure printout dated January 24th, 2022 as follows. From the General Fund, $14,451,025. From the General Fund Athletics, $152,172. From the Capital Projects 2018 Bond Fund, $26,346. From the 2020 Bond Fund, $2,311,574. From the Nutrition Services Fund, $384,558. And from the Benefit Stabilization Fund, $1,573,665 for a total of $18,899,340.
Support. Thank you. Motion by Ms. Weems, supported by Ms. Smith. Do we have any discussion? I believe we have to take a roll call vote?
No.
No?
Not for the treasurer's report.
Oh, okay. Oh, we're not voting on it. It's not an action item. You're just a report.
I made a motion. Supported.
Yeah,
For the report.
but you have to approve it.
Right. Okay.
So you can do the all.
We can just do all.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. It's been a long night.
Yep.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you. Next, we are moving on to our consent agenda. Anyone to make a motion? Or go ahead, Ms. Weems.
I move that we approve the consent agenda, which includes the approval of minutes from the January 10th, 2023 regular meeting and personnel items.
Support.
Motion by Ms. Weems to accept the consent agenda, supported by Mr. Rich. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes. All right, reports from board representatives. I believe we have one for the OCSBA from Ms. Heinrich.
Yes. Well, actually, I'm board representative with the Student Roundtable, and Amy Pan did such an amazing job reporting. And I'm really impressed because these kids do everything digitally. You know, you don't see them write anything down, and they have a Google Doc that they're planning their their career fair on and things, so I'm really impressed with the students. And they also go around in the beginning of the meeting and they talk about evidence of excellence. And I just want to compliment Greg Smith because he really did a nice job as far as going, he was talking about listening to students, and he really did a nice job as far as asking questions and taking time to listen. And I really feel like the kids feel comfortable sharing, and that's really important for students to be able to speak their truths and not be worried about what they're saying. So nice group of students. I really appreciate all the work in our district. Okay, the Oakland County School Board Association meeting, it was an online meeting, and Ms. Fox and Dr. Blau attended with me also, and I have the minutes to that. There were 22 districts, and we were represented by 3. They have their legislative priorities that have been approved, and I just wanted to share that with us and just point out to our fellow board members that the document was shared with the full board, so make sure that you read that. But the legislative, well, maybe I won't share it because I can't find it. Oh, here it is right here. Sorry, you're going to be here all night. Anyways, the legislative priorities, just to go over them: school aid, mental health, school safety, local control, evidence-based decision-making, unfunded mandates, school finance, research collaborative, accountability and transparency, lame duck, early childhood, special education, broadband access and devices, teacher shortages, school nutrition. So those are the legislative priorities for this year. And they also have on here, there's going to be district voting on proposed changes to our resolutions and bylaws. And so there's a document, 2 documents that were sent out on that. And there's a new resolutions on school nutrition and school safety that will be asked to support, as well as 4 bylaws that they're going to ask for changes on. And there was a really excellent presentation on cybersecurity, and Ms. Fox has plans to bring up the things that we learned from that to our policy committee, and so that was really helpful and informative. And that presentation, I think they shared with me, and I can share it with the whole board. I don't think it went to the whole board. And then our next meeting is going to be in March 15th, and the topic is going to be the future of school transportation.
Thank you so much, Ms. Heinrich, for both of those reports. Are there any other reports from board representatives this evening? All right, then we will move on to recommendation for future agenda item. Yes.
I think we should take a refreshers course on, not actually one-on-one, but on board, not policies, but things that we should be doing at our board table. How to make motions, how to call to order, things like that. So that's one of the things I think we should take a look at.
Okay, thank you. Any other recommendations for future agenda?
I could just.
Oh, yes, yes.
I know at the last meeting, I believe it was a board member, Heinrich, who mentioned that it would be nice for us to have an update on schools of choice. And so I spoke with Mrs. Baumer and our team, and we're prepared to do that. We'll compile that. So we're very proud to still be a destination district. And so we have close to 200 applications. And so we're very proud of the things we do in Farmington Public Schools. And, and that's indicative of the fact that people want to come here. So we would be more than happy to give an update either in our board briefs or at the table down the line about our schools of choice students, both the ones who are applying to our district, but the ones who are thriving in our district as well.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to good and welfare. Yes, Ms. Smith.
I had the opportunity to go to the art reception on January 11th. The pictures that we see in this room are done by the students throughout Farmington Public Schools, our elementary, and we even have some students from Sorrows as well. So we need to focus on what we are here for, and it is the students, not the tearing downs and all that other stuff. I was also able to take part at the Martin Luther King Jr. celebration over at East Middle School. Had the opportunity to see a former principal, Ken Sanders, when he said that he missed seeing all of this and enjoying this. We had some wonderful teachers that got together and did a great program. And even one of our teachers, who I thought was just a history teacher, was a phenomenal singer. So thank you to Mr. Shelton and Mr. O'Brien and Mr. Smith, who stood there and was kind of clapping and nodding their heads too with the songs. The kids did a great job. And again, thank you to everyone that participated in the MLK celebrations. I also want to ask us all to keep not only our parapros don't get enough accolades in our district, but yesterday we laid to rest one of our parapros student, her child, Brittany, that works over at Lanigan Elementary. Thank you to Brad for working diligently to make sure those paras were able to attend. It was wonderful to see retired teachers that came back, and Brittany was very touched to see Dr. McDougall and Dr. Goodrum and other people that have either left or was still here in this community. Thank you for reaching out and working with those principals. Touching service, and let's keep Brittany in our prayers and the staff at both schools. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Ms. Heinrich?
Yeah, we started the program with music from our middle school honors choir. I got to go to the 6th grade concert. I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago. And it was the entire, at the STEAM Academy, and it was the entire 6th grade. They had the strings, they had the choir, and they had the wind instruments, or whatever they call them. Sorry. But anyways, it was great. And, you know, 6th grade is the first year that our students have music choice, and so it was really nice to see how well the students performed. But I wasn't only impressed with the students, but the teachers. I mean, the teachers, just their enthusiasm. And though they demonstrated tonight, you know, they're just enthusiasm and their dedication. And the parents, and at the end of the program, the teacher said, you know, our custodians have to, you know, break down this gym, and we could appreciate some help. And boy, all the parents were out of the bleachers, and they had that room taken down and put away, just like that. So great community that we live in, and or you know, have an opportunity for our students to go to school in. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Heinrich. Any other good and welfare? All right, then we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
What's that clock?